This weekend, a lot of Trump supporters showed up in D.C. I don't know the full number because we get a bunch of estimates from a bunch of different groups. Some Trump supporters are saying around 200,000. Some leftists were saying it was only 100,000. Some Trump supporters said there was over 1 million, apparently, on Twitter. I don't think that was correct. But at any rate, it was massive, and it resulted in a lot of violence because leftists showed up, as they do, and started attacking people. So we got a couple people here today, but as we were preparing to start the show, and the first title we had was like, leftists attack MAGA families because there were kids there. It was crazy. A story popped up that's it's breaking within the past hour. The Georgia Recount has unearthed 2,600 uncounted ballots and 800 went to Trump. We've also got another story about Republicans getting a 5 to 6% boost in a recount, and I believe it was New Hampshire. So I think this is the more pressing, like, breaking news, considering we're trapped in this, election period. But it does play into exactly what's going on with all the violence. It's not going to stop. There are leftist media publications saying the same thing. It's not going to stop. Doesn't matter if Trump wins or loses or Biden wins. It doesn't matter. It's going to keep happening. So we're going to talk about all this, and we'll start by talking about the current state of the election a little bit, and then we'll just segue right in. But hanging out today is Jack Murphy.
What's up, everybody? Jack Murphy Live. How you doing?
He was supposed to come next week, but you were down there on the ground.
I was down there on the ground. I saw all the many, many thousands and thousands of flags, and then tens of thousands of people, for sure. There was more people than I expected by a lot. There were more people down there than I remember seeing at the Washington Nationals World Series parade.
Wow.
There were tons of people, and it was pretty lit. Red, white, and blue everywhere. Pledge of Allegiance, national anthem. It was tremendous.
We also have Jorge Ventura.
Oh, yeah.
You actually filmed the video that Andy No shared, right?
Yes, sir.
Where that dude
yes,
gets
sir.
sucker punched. Mm-hmm. And Ian and I were arguing over this earlier because what happened is, actually, you know what? Let's save this conversation. We'll jump right into it. If you haven't already, smash the like button, subscribe, notification bell, and shows live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Okay, now let's just talk about it. Okay, we've got this recount thing. We'll wait on this for a little bit so that people can start, coming into the live show. But let's just talk about what happened with this clip with Andy No to start things off. So Andy No posted, you may know him, he's a journalist, he's on Twitter. He posted this clip where there's this guy, seems to be a Trump supporter, and someone comes up behind him and sucker punches him from behind, just knocking him out to the ground. And then some people start kicking his face, like kicking him in the head. They pick him up and this dude's gone, man. He's just like out of it, he's bleeding. And then all of a sudden, Andy No starts trending on Twitter because these leftists were like, show the full clip. You didn't show the full clip. And so then people start sharing this longer version that shows this guy who got sucker punched walking up to the leftists and the guy with the bullhorn and swinging at him and shoving him, saying, see, he started the fight. And you see, that wasn't even the full clip either. The full clip was that a couple guys tried leaving and the cops wouldn't let them. So they were forced to walk through the crowd, and the crowd harassed and swung at them and shoved them and attacked them for like a couple blocks. It's like one really long block. You can see this video. And these guys are even begging, like, please, like, we're not doing it. We're trying to leave. Doesn't matter. They're getting up in their space. They're hitting them, shoving them. Finally, they turn a corner. This guy came and started defending people, it would seem. I'll ask you, like, if that makes sense. Because I watched the full thing from start to finish. But this is what happens. Andy No posts this clip saying, dude, this guy got sucker punched. The left claims he's purposefully taking it out of context when I think he was just trying to highlight the sucker punch. Then they only show an out-of-context clip, not explaining why it was this guy confronted this group. But it seems like this guy was trying to defend people who were being attacked. Is that true? Is that?
Yeah, so basically just what happened, Tim, is, the regular event happened. It was, peaceful. Like Jack was saying, it was thousands of people there. I mean, I'm guessing, I would say maybe like 500,000. And
really?
Yeah, it was a lot.
No, Jack saying no.
I mean,
I'm not an expert on this.
Me neither. I'm not an expert, but it was
that.
more than 100,000 people that I would say. Started off the event, regular people marching, showing their support for Trump, and around 2 or 3, I call this journalistic instinct. I said I should probably make my way down to Black Lives Matter Plaza because if there's anything that's going to happen, it's going to happen at that plaza. Soon as I arrived at the plaza, I filmed this video where what originally caught my attention was it's a family that was supporting Trump. They had like their Trump gear on. They're walking through the Black Lives Matter Plaza. As they're walking through, I was speaking to another reporter, but what caught my attention about the family was that their daughter had her head down and she was really in distress. She was crying and she was shaking. So I was like, okay, hold on. So I turned my camera on and focused on her. And as soon as I did that, these Black Lives Matter supporters start approaching the family, yelling at them. That's when the mom grabs her daughter and pulls her in close. And basically a huge clash happened. Then one of the Black Lives Matter supporters, they push the dad onto that daughter, so that she like hits this concrete slab that was there. She's crying. It was it was an emotional scene. It was even tough as a reporter to document that because there were kids involved. So originally what the cops did then after that event was they said, all right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna shut off every street into Black Lives Matter Plaza to stop the Trump supporters from colliding with the Black Lives Matter supporters, which originally was a great idea. But what happened was that these Trump supporters then couldn't get through to their hotel. So then what I did is I walk up to a police line. This is on I and 16th Street on Black Lives Matter Plaza. And the guy's name is Christopher, now that I found out. He actually ended up DMing me on Twitter. Him and his wife and I believe a couple other of his people in his group are begging the cops, please let us through. And before they even walk up to the police line, they were already getting harassed. They walk up to the police line. The police don't let them through, and he says, "No, you got to go around." As soon as the police, turn them around, they get attacked. As they're getting attacked, the police line is just looking at them, letting this happen. That's when then I filmed the African American female with the orange shower cap or bonnet, whatever you want to call it. She punches a dude from the behind. These people were scared for their lives. They kept saying like, "Look, we just want to get back to our hotel." So they're getting attacked. And then that's when they kind of walk down the street. And then that's when we see that gentleman with this long black shirt on, orange writing. He like comes in and kind of like tries to defend this group. That's when we see him take the microphone away. Then he like pushes that guy on the ground. I believe he like even stepped on his head. And then that's when the group kind of closed in on him. And at this time, still with all this commotion, police are not stepping in. Then the guy gets sucker punched by it was the African American gentleman with the Trump Pence out now sign. The guy gets knocked out. Then another individual comes in and takes 3 steps on his head. Then they finally pick him up and then take him to the police line. Then the police get involved. So it was just like a hectic situation. I think what people didn't understand, maybe who weren't there, and the whole out of context thing, is that these Trump supporters were getting attacked on their way to their hotel. They were literally just minding their business. They were literally pleading with the police if they could be let through, and the police basically from my perspective, they failed these people because they didn't even, not only did they point them to the wrong direction, but at least escort these people to their hotel. I mean, these police are from DC. It's no secret what's going on in the political atmosphere. But Tim, I think it was just a hectic situation. I think people don't understand the full.
You saw the response to Andy No's tweet though, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Is it fair to say that the left response with the short clip was also out of context?
It was also out of context. I think what the left doesn't understand is, let's say that guy comes in and pushes his man in the microphone. It still doesn't excuse you to literally brutally knock out this guy, then stomp on his head.
I mean, he kicked some dude in the head too, right?
Yeah.
So
He took on the whole mob. He fought a bunch of guys. He swung and went
Yeah.
into the crowd and back and out and back and out again.
And look, I don't know this for sure, but from just being there, I'm assuming that guy saw those people getting attacked, saw that they were being ganged up on, saw that they were ripping the Trump flag, and I'm assuming he just got sick of it and wanted it to step in. And,
or it seemed like he was protecting them. As he engaged with them, the family got away.
Yeah.
So you have a family, the police won't let them through. I think it's funny too. I think a lot of Trump supporters, people who don't live in big cities, don't realize how police are going to treat you, and they think they can walk up to the cops and be like, "Howdy, officer, my hotel's right there," and the cop says, "I don't care, get out of my face." Right. In fact, I'm sure some of these people get a rude awakening with the cops even just shoving them or saying "shut up" or not even responding to them, because if you're from a city, you probably get it. If you're in a protest, cops going to be like, "Don't care at all." Those cops don't know who the protesters are. They don't know who the Trump supporters are. They don't know what they're protesting. They don't know what they're supporting. Don't care. Got orders? Nobody goes through. Done. Yep. You could be a journalist. Doesn't matter. Yeah. I watched them arrest a guy in a suit at Occupy Wall Street who was walking out of a bodega with an orange Fanta. It was like a famous story that happened. He walks out and there's a crowd of protesters and he's like wearing a suit and he's all just like, "Oh, this is crazy." They arrest him and he's freaking out like, "What's going on?" Apparently he showed up to court screaming about how he was at work, went outside to go grab a soda from the bodega, and then the cops arrested him, even though he's clearly not a protester. So
I have some extra color on that story. So I was down in Black Lives Matter. I was down there. My job that day was to record, but also scout. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to go on the fringes, be up in front, and just see where Antifa was going to be, what the plan was, how and when they were going to maybe assault people. And I had been tweeting for days beforehand, safety alert, please stay in the suburbs, please at night go back to the suburbs. Arlington's very close. Jack Posobiec tweeted out, Ali Alexander did. We tried to warn people. Like, we legitimately tried to warn people. And I think people got the message. I mean, that one tweet was seen by like 500,000 times. So like people saw it. So I went to Black Lives Matter Plaza after the march had gone from Freedom Plaza all the way down to Supreme Court. I walked all the way back. And the guy who knocked out this guy in question, I was there. He approached me. It must have been a half hour, an hour before that incident. And he was like just insane.
The leftist guy?
The leftist guy who knocked the dude out at the end.
Registered sex offender?
A registered sex offender. He was insane. He was looking for people to assault. He came up to me like he was going to get me. I had a security guard with me that day. He just stepped in and pushed the guy back. Whoa. He kind of like looked and he was like, yeah, maybe not. The Antifa guys that accosted me the previous week at the other riot where the cops saved me. They were there. They recognized me. They were all like scheming, getting ready to see what they could do to me. But the cops did save me that one night. So like, it's kind of, but there was like, it was imminent and I was ganged up by like 30 people and I was the only one there. But anyway, those people were there looking to assault people, looking to harass people, looking to hurt people, not looking to protest, not looking to make a chant. They were looking for violence. And this was a conversation we were having earlier. There's definitely BLM down there. There's definitely Antifa down there. There's definitely just sort of rando lefties down there. But there's also just random thugs.
Yeah.
Right.
People who just want violence.
People
Feels good.
Who just
like
want violence. And that incident was horrible to see. And then did you see some lady stole his phone too at the very end? It was on film. Yeah. He's face down, blood coming out of his face, and the girl steals his phone.
So if I could add to him, basically that guy gets knocked out. He gets taken to the cops. And then the commotion is still ongoing. We then basically wrap around the street. And then we see an elderly couple walking back to their hotel. And then that's when we see this group attack that couple, try to steal their Trump flag. Oh, yeah. A big props to that older lady because she held onto it. She didn't give it up. And then they were literally attacking this elderly couple. You could hear one of the guys yelling at them saying, "You're so lucky the cops are not here. I would, beat the F out of you," whatever. And it was just crazy to like just sit being there and documenting that. And then one of the females who stole the phone, I believe she also had a taser. She was actually trying to tase Kalen from Scriber News, who was just on the show. She was trying to tase him unsuccessfully, thank God. And then basically everything was happening so fast. Me and Kalen kind of went to the side, and then we told the cops, "Hey, we have all the video footage of the assault. They were the ones responsible." So I do want to credit the DC police in this area because they saw our footage right away and then made the arrest like in real time in front of me and Kalen's faces. So they made the arrest of the individuals who were responsible for the assault. I believe they got like 2 or 3 that are wanted, but the folks who were heavily involved, they arrested them there in real time. I believe the 2 males who were arrested did have weapons on them. The female had a taser. Then we found out that one of the men were already a registered sex offender. So thanks to Andy No for getting that information. But
cops said they found several guns as well.
But Tim, they recovered like I think 7 to 10.
But it makes you think, Tim, that like I don't want to. This is not me taking any credit or Kalen for us, but it's just like if me and Kalen aren't there to like pressure the cops to arrest these people, showing that we have video evidence and that we prove that we are credentialed media, these people would have got away and just would have kept doing that all night.
So these videos are crazy, man. You have this massive crowd of Trump supporters, but as night falls and the numbers start thinning out, then these leftists and just like Jack was saying, violent people looking for a fight get to come out and do whatever they want.
You can see the look in their eyes, too. Yeah. That guy in particular, I was chest to chest with him moments before he assaulted that guy. You could see it in their eyes. They're just crazed.
I went down
looking to hurt somebody.
I went down. I'll add to this. This is great. We were down there. Andreas and I went down, walked around. So we did the parade during the day, walked up and down, had lunch with some of the InfoWars people, and then we were out. It's starting to get dark. We went over to Black Lives Matter Plaza, and dude, it was like Tim's metaphor is great. It's like, you ever play a game where there's a horde mode, but it glitches and you get in the back room where the horde's waiting before they get released? Just a bunch of people like standing there, not making noise, not saying anything. Like they're not protesting. Dudes would be like just sitting there looking at you with they're all black. And
So-
it felt like a horde was about to be unleashed.
Yeah.
I used to design games when I was younger, and when we would create when you create bad guys, like in a video game you're playing, right? A bad guy comes to the door and he runs at you. There's actually, you can't see it. Behind this is probably just a big empty space where they drop all of the various bad guys, and then they have a scripted cue where it's like at this interval with this trigger they come out. And if you ever glitch through it, they're all just standing there mindlessly doing nothing. And that's what Ian was describing. I was like, dude, sounds like you went into the back area before the horde mode started, and all these dudes just waiting there, not just like getting ready to go.
It was a tweet from Jack Murphy that said, "All my MAGA friends, get out of DC. Nothing good is going to come of this." And I'm not MAGA, but I read that like I think I'm gonna.
Yeah, he didn't.
So
Jack Posobiec too was sending tweets like, "Get out of the city, get out of the city."
Well, I think it's certainly this was not the worst you've ever seen.
Well, it's definitely not the worst, but it was the one that I think kind of just shocked me because it was the first time that I've seen actually like children involved in just like elderly couples. So it was
maybe the worst.
Yeah, so I think for that was a shocker, and I think it'd be good to talk about it now. But seeing just like that little girl crying and holding on to her sister, then her dad pushed onto her, and she was just in fear for her life. You have all these grown adults screaming at them, and to be honest, Tim, that moment took like a mental toll on me, because right after that situation happened, then that brutal knockout happened, seeing the guy get stomped out, then seeing the elderly couple get threatened. For me as a reporter, I don't know, it never really happened to me where it just was like it was almost like enough was enough. I was at a point where it's like I don't even know how much more I could show my audience anymore of what's going on, and it was just too much for me.
They attacked a caravan of Trump supporters in New York, and I think it was a woman. She went to a car and pepper sprayed the kids in the car. She just started spraying. That's crazy.
Yeah,
these people are deranged. So, I think there were people who voted for Joe Biden thinking that things will go back to normal. Everything's going to go back to normal. It's not going. There's no normal. This stuff's going to get crazier.
Imagine if the only reason you did vote for Biden was to put an end to the unrest.
And now you've just gotten rid of the only guy who said, I will stop this.
Exactly. What's interesting to me is that this is now Joe Biden's America. If this is your president-elect, this is what your president-elect has come up with.
No, it's not just that. It's that Joe Biden should have come out and said, I reject this violence on the Trump supporter.
Right.
I'm going to be the president. No, he didn't do it. Biden didn't. Did he say anything about it?
Not that I saw.
Nothing.
Dude.
He's not going to be the president for all Americans. He's going to be the president for his base. There's two, as Brian Stelter likes to say of CNN, alternate realities. Although he said, I'm not going to say alternate reality because they live in fictional reality. Okay, bro. I think you live in a fictional reality too. But it is true, man. I read the news all day, and it really is. When we talk, Scott Adams puts it better. It's, what do you say, one screen with two different movies playing at the same time.
And they're two different Americas, Tim. I've been to both political campaigns, and I mean, just even the voters, it's a completely different America when you're hanging out with each one.
You know what? The left likes to say, oh, Tim talks about Civil War too much. Mother Jones put out an article saying our political Civil War will just keep getting worse.
Definitely.
Like, that's Mother Jones. They're a leftist, and they're saying political Civil War. Okay, well, what do you call it when people are attacking kids and pepper spraying kids?
Here's a question for you. In 1968, did we say there was a civil war afoot when the violence at the Democratic convention? I'm just wondering.
I was too, because I actually just said to Jorge, it
but
feels
that's
like
different.
68.
But that's different. That was the police versus protesters. We're talking about two different realities where the news on one side is saying Biden is president-elect. Kamala Harris hasn't even resigned her Senate seat, has she?
No. Not that I know of right now.
I think a lot of people hated Nixon in 68. I mean,
for sure. And then you had the Kent State shootings. Like, things were really, really bad.
And the weather underground and the bombings all over college campuses and stuff like that. And this is going to continue. The one election of Trump or election of Biden wasn't going to change. I've been trying to prep people for this notion that this is just one small skirmish, the presidency, the election for the president, one small skirmish in a conflict that has been going on and building for more than 10, 15, 20 years now, is going to keep going. These are giant tectonic plates at work. These are not little things that can be fixed in a minute.
So there's this research program called Transparency Tube, where they basically try and sort all the different YouTube channels, and they say that anti-woke is right wing, meaning you can be a socialist, but as long as you think critical race theory, Antifa, the violence is the worst thing affecting our country, they'll call you right wing. That's the current, like, the point is, it seems like nothing makes sense in terms of who's on whose side other than the tribes have been drawn.
And like I said earlier too, Tim, we're living in the realignment. Like I said, that moment kind of hit me when, you know, I'm on Black Lives Matter Plaza just doing my regular reporting, and then I just see, you know, all the liberals and everyone just celebrating Joe Biden's victory. They're popping champagne. And for me, I was like, you guys are popping champagne for the guy who voted us into the Iraq war, you know, who was a vocal advocate for that war, then took us from 2 wars to 7. I'm like, what are we watching right now? Now the right wing is anti-war. You know, it's just the total realignment that we're living through.
It's the weirdest. The people trying to quantify YouTube channels, bless their hearts. Like, there's no real way to do it. You can straight up be like, I'm all for universal health care, but man, these violent, you know, rioters are dangerous, and the critical race theory is a horrible problem, and they'll be like, that's right wing. It's like, so who do I vote for? Because the Republicans aren't going to be in favor of progressive policy. It's like one of the craziest things about it is they said that if you were one-sided on the issue of Brett Kavanaugh or like migrant caravans, and I'm like, so telling the truth about Brett Kavanaugh is right wing? That's nuts. That's where we're at.
Anything that you do to perpetuate the male-dominated patriarchy that's oppressive to women and minorities. No, that's true, right? It's like you're either racist or anti-racist. You're either feminist or you're an anti-feminist. You're either progressive or you're anti-progressive. You're
doesn't the natural conclusion of this just become war?
Yes.
Well, I think we're already at war. And that was like when me and you met, it was the first conversation we had that night. I feel like this is war weariness, that people are going crazy. Psychological problems, getting kids, sex changes when they're 6 years old. It just seems like people are going psychotic, going nuts. And I think it's because we've been at war for 20 years and we're not talking about it enough.
It's honestly the full-blown culture war now.
It's the cultural war. Yeah. It's not about, look, I'm mad about, you know, our excursions in the Middle East, but this is about, there's been something happening. And it's probably a lack of trust in media, I think, started it. You know, conservatives particularly knew that they weren't getting fair framing. And that's where it starts. Yep. Framing, right? So Donald Trump throws the food into the koi pond. And then everybody makes fun of him saying, what's he doing? You're supposed to put a little bit. What a moron. Literally, the camera framed it that way. Because when you zoomed out and watched the full footage, Trump was just doing what Shinzo Abe was doing. He's like, when in Rome, you know, oh, he threw the food and I'll throw the food next. They framed it a certain way. So conservatives see that and say that wasn't true. That was falsely framed. So they stop watching. Now it's getting even crazier where Fox News, their ratings are dropping like crazy. They're burning subscribers as people move to Newsmax. Greg Kelly on Newsmax is getting 1 million viewers at night. Yep. This is rivaling now some of the biggest news networks. It's massive. Brian Stelter gets all angry. He's like, this is a threat to democracy, these disparate realities. And it's like, within reason, yes. I think the bigger threat is that the mainstream media has given up on telling us the truth. Like, how many of these outlets report on the fact that kids were being attacked in D.C.?
I haven't seen. I'm being honest. I haven't seen it.
So people know, if you want to know the truth, you can't go to these networks. And so naturally, they're going to go to places like Newsmax.
Well, only some people know that, right?
I haven't seen Washington Post even mention not one of those attacks.
Yeah, no. And that's why I go out in the streets, man. That's why you're out there too, is because somebody has to be there to witness. That's what they confront me on the street. Whose side do you want? Whose side do you want? And I'm like, bro, I'm here to witness.
Yeah.
Witness what? Just to witness.
Like, Tim, if I was out there and there was Trump supporters beating up and stomping Black Lives Matter people, I would show the public, like, hey, this is what Trump supporters are doing.
Right. Yeah, because you're not a political dude.
Yeah, but it wasn't that. And
see, but bro, this is what's funny. When we had you on the first time, you were with the Riot Squad, right?
Yeah.
So like Richie and Shelby, and you were like, oh, I'm not really political. I don't know a whole lot about this. And it's like, bro, if you come out and start saying, man, these leftists were attacking people, boom, you're right wing.
Yep.
That's it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm already labeled with it, so might as well write a full send.
That's
right, Jack?
Full send.
No cap.
No cap, full send.
So let's do this. Let's jump into this talk about the election, what's going on, because we got a couple bits of breaking news. The first is that Georgia Recount unearths more than 2,600 uncounted ballots in Floyd County, and it gave a net gain of 800 votes to Donald Trump. It still leaves Biden in the lead, but this is one county. I'm not sure these kind of changes are going to be enough to push Trump over the edge. It's one county again, 800 votes. Maybe there's something going on. We had a story. This is really crazy. Out of, I think it was New Hampshire, where they did a hand recount and found a 5 to 6% bump for the Republicans. The Democrats, 1.5%. One guy got -2. How does that happen? Like what they were saying was when they started hand recounting, the machine didn't scan some of these ballots. And so they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Just so happened that there were 10 times more Republican than Democrat. And somehow the machine scanned more votes for the Democrat when they weren't for the Democrat. Why is it always going in one direction? Right? That's what's getting weird. But apparently, I saw someone in the chat say this. Trump tweeted something out. Adam Paul Lixall, let's see, is he going to tell us who this guy is? He's just a verified Twitter user, said, the Clark County Commission just threw out an election that represents almost 1/6 of the total votes cast in Clark County because there were too many discrepancies. To be sure that the results in that election can be certain, 153,000 votes in this election. So I'm not sure if that's the presidential one or what that is, but Trump says, big victory moments ago in the state of Nevada. The all-Democrat county commissioner race on the same ballot as president just thrown out because of large-scale voter discrepancy. Clark County officials do not have confidence in their own election security. This is crazy. They look at Megan Messerly says, Clark County Register Joe Gloria on the Clark County Commission District C race. Quote, we have found discrepancies that we can't explain that would cast a doubt on whether or not that margin of victory is solid. If that's in the same ballot, if that's in the same ballot for president, what about all those votes? You can't just say one of the votes didn't make sense. The ballots themselves are in question.
So can I just check with you? If I did the math correctly and it turns out that all of these ballots are wrong and they're 5.6% in Trump's favor, would that not be like a massive victory for him?
Yes.
Okay.
If what we see in this New Hampshire race where the Republicans got a big boost around 5%, it was only several hundred votes because it was, very small, small areas, small communities, relatively small. But if that translated even half, if Trump got 2% across the board on average, landslide easily. He'd win like a ton of states. He'd win all the swing states.
In my book about 2016 election, I interviewed somebody who worked as she was in the Democratic Party at the time, and she caucused for Bernie. And she described to me all of the nonsense that went on in Clark County. Clark County is like gangster central when it comes to elections, dude. Like Bernie's office got shot up that year.
What?
There was look it up.
Bernie's office?
Jamie, fact checked me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Bernie's office got shot up in 2016 in Clark County. There was basically like a riot on the floor of the state level caucus for president. Whoa. They think those folks claimed that they like shut down all the parking lots in the whole area. They wouldn't let casino workers off work that day so they could go caucus. They made it very difficult. They changed the rules of the caucus on the floor with there was all kinds of things that went on. Clark County, they hustle to get the votes that they want, right?
Sounds like it.
They really do. Clark County is actually, Las Vegas was seeded by people from the East, right? Like casinos and gangsters and stuff. So no shocker there, really. It's just like East Coast corruption exported out to the West.
Yeah.
And that's voter suppression. And then we got Sidney Powell coming in hard with Dominion, which would be considered, I guess you'd call that fraud. So there's like suppression, fraud, there's
Different
discrepancy.
Democrats actually wrote a letter to Dominion in December of 2019 concerned about the potential for voter fraud, notably switching votes. So this has long been known about. The Democrats were actually setting it up to challenge it if they lost. Now that it's looking like Joe Biden, mum's the word. Not going to say anything.
Was it just a meme that I saw? But was it just like a fake Dominion logo? Because that was fake.
Yeah, the one with the two different.
It was hysterical.
Colors.
It said like Dominion changing the way people vote or something like that. And then there was like red ones going in and blue ones coming out.
Changing the way.
It looked like it could have been a legit logo. It was really funny.
I had to look it up because I was like, this can't be real.
Can't
right?
be real.
It's only the red one going in. There's not a blue one coming out.
That's the
So check this out. Trump is tweeting about Clark County.
Oh snap!
They're saying there's 153,000 votes in this county. It's a Democrat county, right? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know, but I think it is.
I think Trump was saying that, right? We just read it.
I mean, city.
So if they throw this out, it's going to be Trump wins Nevada.
That would be amazing.
But what they're saying is, so I've got this tweet thread from Megan Messerly. She is the NV Indy, a reporter. She says, Clark County Registrar Joe Gloria notes that the only race they have an issue with is the Commission District C race because of the 10-vote margin. That's the only race in the entire election we have any concern related to the outcome, and it's because of the margin. Clark County Commissioner Tick Segerblom is pressing the point that if there is a recount, the same discrepancies would still be present. A recount does not address those discrepancies. They're not discussing the fact that Clark County could set up a special election for just one particular race to rerun the election if it doesn't certify the results. It sounds like there are essentially two routes. Either the Clark County Commission could make a decision on the revote today, or they could certify the results of the election. Stavros Anthony takes the matter to court, and a court could order a revote. Clark County Registrar Joe Gloria says there is no election that goes without identified discrepancies. The issue here is the margin of victory. Gloria says they go through to ensure the discrepancies are smaller than the margin of victory, which isn't true in this case. Clark County Commissioner Larry Brown is now amending his motion, asking the Clark County Register to come back at their first meeting in December with options for a special election in the race. Gloria says the cost of a special election depends on how the election is held, yada, yada, yada. Then they say Clark County Commission Chair Marilyn Kirkpatrick, what is going to happen to the people who voted twice? I hope that we're going to go after them, she says. Gloria says the cases will be referred to the SOS for investigation. People voted twice? She's saying that people voted twice? Okay, then. Why would it only be an issue with one race? Is there something I'm missing? I think who said this?
Insane, man.
Trump said this, right? That on the same ballot as the president, and this guy Adam Paul Laxalt says 153,000 votes in this election. How can they keep any of those ballots if one of those races gets thrown out? That's got to be grounds for a legal team to be like, dude, no way. Yeah. If they're saying they're throwing out one race because of someone voted twice, the whole thing's got to be dirty. What do? Do you revote? Nevada can't be certified.
There's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of smoke. But you know, it's funny. I mean, and not to put a wet blanket on any of this. If you
I just got to stop you real quick. Twitter didn't flag Trump's tweet.
What?
This tweet from Trump is not flagged.
Whoa.
Yep. Just below it, Trump says,
no, let's not fall into that trap. Let's not fall into that trap.
I kind of want to, though.
Of letting Twitter
inform
us as what's
not the issue.
not.
That's not the issue. The issue is Twitter is willing to flag any and everything.
True.
But they couldn't do this one.
Right.
Because this one's
It's
legit.
blatantly true.
Yeah. So listen. Here's what I'm saying.
And the New Hampshire one too. Was it
Twitter? Yeah. Twitter set the standard. If Twitter wants to be the arbiter of truth here, well, okay, Twitter, you got me. You're the one who gets to flag misinformation. This one's not flagged. It must be true.
Boom. Done.
End of story.
That is true.
Yeah. Twitter wants to play games.
Every election, there's stuff like this going on. And if you took a deep look, you would find discrepancies and double countings and mail-in ballot fraud and all kinds of stuff in every election that ever happened ever. That being said, this is the one that really matters to me. So I say we dig in really deep and take a look.
For sure, of course.
Yeah.
But this would flip Nevada for Trump.
That would be
huge, yeah. It's still not enough. Trump needs 3 states. You know what's really funny, man? I don't know if you guys see the Jesse Waters segment he did on the election. He says something doesn't feel right. Biden wasn't campaigning. He was hiding in the basement, calling lids for a week, disappearing. Yeah. And all of a sudden now he's up. Something doesn't feel right.
The biggest vote total in the history of American politics.
More than Obama. Yep. This is something I do not understand. Like, why? How did he do nothing and then come out?
The only thing that I could maybe add, Tim, just from being on the ground, is before the George Floyd situation happened, when I would interview people on the left, obviously a lot of people are Bernie supporters, Bernie voters. When I would say, hey, would you be voting for Biden in this upcoming election, they would all say, absolutely not. We're going to either hold our vote, kind of like the way they did in 2016. Yeah. Then as soon as the George Floyd thing happened, all these progressives said, we're basically just going to be voting for Biden because he's not Trump. So I'm not saying that one reason went over 70, but I think one thing that wasn't talked about in mainstream news, and I think you can't really pull it, was there was a Black Lives Matter vote. There were people that literally voted off just that issue, nothing else.
Black Lives Matter net support is lower now than it was last year, according to Civics. So
that is true, yeah.
Polling of hundreds of thousands of people found that just before the George Floyd incident, their net support was around like 10 or so %, meaning like compared to opposition. So all in all, I think the total support in the country was just under like 40 or so % or something like that. Or no, I think it was like 47. It skyrocketed after George Floyd and then plummeted after the riots. So their net support has actually dropped. So I'm not
it dropped almost like 10 points just in the state of Wisconsin with the whole Kenosha situation.
So I'm not convinced that was the driver, but I do think it's fair to say people don't like Trump. There's a lot of people who don't like the guy. And I talk to my friends and they don't know anything about politics. but they know everything about pop culture. So they're like, I just don't like this man. The only thing they know is, Kim Kardashian sold something, and they know like Kanye wanted to run for president, and then they heard about Trump and said Trump is bad. And so they go and vote. Yeah. They go and vote.
They never watched The Apprentice?
No, I guess not.
Did you ever follow up on the guy that was running or training for the Olympics that got voted for?
So this is a story that appeared on Laura Ingraham, where a guy who was training for the Olympics got called by the Voter Integrity Fund. The guy, Matt Brainerd, you interviewed him.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. What happened with that?
So they called this dude. His name is Nashawn Garrett. He's training for the Olympics in Tennessee. He's from Arizona, but he moved there 5 months ago.
Yep.
Changed his address, voted in Tennessee because he's going to be in the Olympics. Yep. This guy is not some random dude who got a phone call. This guy's got a Wikipedia entry. He's a well-known collegiate wrestler. He's apparently really good. So he appeared on Laura Ingraham. He said he got a phone call from the Voter Integrity Fund asking if he had requested a mail-in ballot in Arizona. Well, no, of course not. I'm in Tennessee. Did you vote? No, I voted in Tennessee.
Boom.
So who did it?
I'm interviewing Matt Brainerd again on Thursday.
Oh, cool.
They told me, I talked to his people today. They told me they've got a lot of stuff to report. They're feeling very good about their results. I don't know if it's going to be hundreds of thousands or whatever, but if it's 10, 20, 30, you get guys like this, a prominent,
free certifications,
actual legit person.
Yeah, definitely a prominent. Yeah, that's huge.
This guy, he's got a Wikipedia page, man, for his. But look, there's standards. Not that Wikipedia is the best source, especially right now, but there are standards for what qualifies. This guy is a college wrestler who's won a bunch of things and generated press because of it, and he's going to be he's training for he's going to be in the Olympics. Yeah. I'm assuming. Yeah. So this is like. This is the kind of guy that could be on a Wheaties box. This is not some random dude.
We had that thing on Twitter just a couple of days ago, the whole Maiden Gate. And
I don't know enough about that though, but
it was just turning on Twitter. It was this one kind of activist journalist found that if you're a woman and then if you were previously married in another state in this whole situation, and it's just compiling. And
so I'm careful with that stuff.
Yeah, I am too.
Too much random Twitter
she got
people.
Zapped for that.
Yeah, but more importantly, if we see on the Voter Integrity Fund, they're doing phone calls, right? They've already reported they found thousands, in each state, of people who changed their addresses to different states but still voted. Here's the crazy thing. So this is the kind of thing where it's we have definitive proof. Tweets I can't really do much with, right? But check this out. If this dude Nashawn Garrett, I think, if he didn't vote and he's publicly saying wasn't me, somebody voted in my name and it wasn't me. Think about all of these numbers, because Matt Brainerd said they found 8,000, 10,000, 14,000 in each of these states. You may have moved because of COVID, but then because you're still registered and it was only a few months ago you moved, right?
Right.
So the mail-in ballot comes to your mailbox, somebody sends it in. Mm-hmm. But the crazy thing is, in some of these states, you have to request it. Nevada, I believe, was the only swing state that was universal mail-in ballots, where they just sent them all out.
California too. They just sent them all out.
And the courts just ruled against Newsom, saying he wasn't allowed to do that.
Yeah, I just interviewed Kevin Kiley, who's the Republican lawmaker in California, who's really fighting Newsom. It seems like he's gaining a lot of momentum, and we'll see what happens with all that. But at least we have someone in California sticking up to him.
Here, let's put one thing to rest. It is obvious, seeing how Sidney Powell has mobilized, seeing how Linwood is mobilized, seeing how Brainerd has mobilized, seeing how there's a giant crowdsourcing effort underway. None of them were prepared for this beforehand.
Yeah.
There is no credence to any story that Trump has laid some trap and that he was mega prepared and he had all this lined up and was ready to go. Zero. Because the people who are doing the work right now should have been, if there was, should have been contacted before, should have been prepared. Brainerd had a vacation scheduled with his wife and family. He had to cancel it.
You're not supposed to say this, Jack.
His wife was really mad. I know, but you know what?
Turn on Newsmax.
Shout out to Matt Brainerd.
I'm keeping it real. I'm keeping it real. And that's on brand for me. But that isn't there. That wasn't there. That pre-work wasn't there. That's not to say this isn't real. But it wasn't a trap.
So what you're saying is don't trust the plan. What you're saying is that they didn't really know in advance. They weren't
I'm
sure
turning on
Newsmax.
I've heard too much where I'm like, dude, they think Trump's playing 12th dimensional chess. it's full on string theory for Trump, M theory. No, look, man. They've got their plans. They say they're getting evidence. I say, bring it on. I look forward to seeing it. But I'll tell you this. it comes and goes in waves a bit, right? So they announced the Biden wins, and I'm like, wow, I guess, is that it? No one saying anything? I'm like, I guess they're calling it for Biden. But then all of a sudden we start seeing these weird things pop up: sworn affidavits, whistleblower from the post office, poll watchers are saying, I can't see anything, and it starts to get weird. Like, oh, maybe Trump might have something. Now we're seeing that the Supreme Court's not going to take up one of his claims. A bunch of other citizen lawsuits got thrown out. And it's hard to know exactly if Trump's going to be able to pull something, pull off this like last ditch Hail Mary. But then you get this story about this Clark County Commission. I have to imagine Trump's lawyers are immediately filing full speed, like throw the whole thing out. It's 153K votes. But I'll tell you what the craziest thing was. When I woke up this morning, it was actually last night I think I saw the story, but this morning, the story, Donald Trump drops key claim from his lawsuit that 700,000 ballots were compromised by a lack of poll watching. And I went, wow.
Okay, I saw that too.
I saw this. I said, that's it. That's the only way Trump wins Pennsylvania. He's dropping this from his suit? Well, certainly Trump must be done, right? Turns out it was a lie. Like Washington Post just straight up lied.
Oh, shit.
And Politico wrote this story saying Trump drops key claim from lawsuit or pulls back. And I'm reading, it's like now that Trump is no longer going after this claim, he won't be able to flip enough votes to win Pennsylvania. And then I open the lawsuit and I go to Rudy Giuliani tweets about it. He says, go read it. It's in there. It's all in there. They didn't take any of it out. Why did Politico, Washington Post, Daily Mail, all of these outlets just publish like the most insanely fake news I've ever seen? Listen, I read fake news. I see it all the time. What they do is framing devices because they want to make sure they can say, oh, well, actually, you look at Covington, right? The Covington kids on the stairs of the Lincoln Memorial. And you've got this video and you say, well, there was a video, so we thought it was correct. That's how they try and get away with it. This story, you could literally just read the document. And it says there was not meaningful access. 682,000 votes were cast without access. So they're calling for PA to be, they're calling for injunctive relief to stop the certification process because there is no other meaningful relief. You can't throw the ballots out. What do we do? It was in violation of the election code in Pennsylvania. I wonder, why did all of these outlets come out and claim Trump gave up? Trump's dropping the key component. That's it. He's got nothing left. It's over. Is it to try and convince people that Trump is not going to pull this off, that Trump is losing? I tell you this, to quote Michael Malice, if they weren't losing, they wouldn't, let me try it again. If they weren't losing, the propaganda wouldn't be necessary.
Exactly.
That's what Michael said.
Yes.
Now, of course, propaganda, they always use it. But I got to tell you, man, this is the freakiest thing to read all of these articles from all these different news websites. Straight up fake.
But dude, the tax story, right?
Right.
It says
fake.
$750 paid. But then you read the actual article, and even down at the bottom, it's like, oh yeah, Trump actually prepaid
X amount, $5.6 million,
X amount of millions of dollars, basically made an interest-free loan to the federal government, and at this point didn't have to pay because he had already prepaid.
But
it's
listen,
in there, but they don't ever talk about it in the headlines. That's fake.
Right. So the New York Times puts out this story about Donald Trump's taxes, never verified it. We have no idea if they actually have any tax documents. Trump says they don't. It says in the beginning, Trump only paid $750. Then, like you said, you go down, it says actually Trump paid $1 million in 2016 and 4.2 in 2017 as a holdover for potential liabilities. That trick is a framing device. Okay, so that's not on the level we're seeing now.
I see.
What they did was they're like, well, he paid he paid his bill of $750, but he did pay. So they're doing a semantic argument, right?
Yeah.
With this over Trump's lawsuit, they come out and they were like, hey everybody, Trump gave up. Trump gave up. His lawsuit's over. He can't win anymore.
Are they news guarded?
Yes, all of them.
Of course they are.
Will they
all
lose
of them.
news guard
nope,
status?
Of course not.
Why
Absolutely
not?
not. Because
should they?
Yes.
Yes and
Dude,
yes.
this is crazy.
Yo, we should build a fact-checking network like you've been talking about, but also a context-checking network. When when they show videos, and if it's only like a 17-second, be like, this is missing context.
Yes. But listen,
that'd be so awesome.
The bigger question here is, how could this possibly be negligence when all you have to do is click the document from Trump, from his website, and scroll down? It took me a minute, and I read Rudy Giuliani tweets, read paragraphs 132 to 150. And I'm like, okay. And I clicked it and I read it and I'm like, sounds like they're saying 100 or 682,000 votes were counted without watchers in violation of election code. And thus there's no meaning for relief other than injunction. Makes sense. Then I look at all these articles and I'm second guessing myself because I'm thinking, what am I getting wrong here? What am I missing on this? How could all of these outlets say this?
Was there a technical thing like he withdrew a motion for X, but like they're actually taking Y?
Politico straight up said, by dropping this, Trump will no longer be able to overturn enough votes to claim Pennsylvania.
Got it. I mean,
that's insane.
I saw
he wasn't even trying to. He was calling for us to free certification,
right?
An injunction.
I saw a headline, our front page. It was either New York Times or Washington Post that says like something, despite no evidence of fraud.
Really? None.
Zero.
Right.
Not caveated, not widespread, not anything. And this is why it's impossible to talk to your old friends. This is why it's impossible to go on Facebook and talk to people you knew from high school because CNN seems legit. Dude, New York Times seems legit. Washington Post seems legit.
Tim, we literally have a part of the country who looks at Trump as like literally Hitler. Yes. Like this guy's literally Hitler. So I mean, I don't know where we go forward with this country.
I feel bad for them. I have empathy. I have empathy for these people because they've been brainwashed. Just like I said last time on here, they've been beaten over the head. They've been abused. They've been tortured by their own party. And now they're just dancing like little scared marionettes.
I think we're winning.
Yeah, like that one journalist from
InfoWar?
one journalist from CNN, and she just did like her whole monologue on how Trump is basically Hitler, and we're living in
Christian Amanpour
in Nazi
I
Germany.
remember when I thought she was the most like legitimate, authentic. You could trust her.
No, dude.
Life.
The prime minister from Israel literally told her like, you better issue
an
apology.
Thank you. Yes, they want an apology.
You could trust them for the most part before. But there was always, because it was always about if they're in control, then they can make sure you're getting the narrative and it's like you're getting the information is fine. It's that anything outside of their control was worrisome. Now they've lost control.
Yeah.
That's why I think the good guys are winning. You know, Michael Malice was saying this. We did the show with Alex Jones. This is why we know the good guys are winning, that these conversations can happen, or a conversation like this, because they are so desperate. These political activists, these authoritarian, anti-speech individuals, they're so desperate. They are putting out stories that are so insanely obviously fake. But it's because what do? People are starting to realize that Trump actually does have legal plans. There may actually be evidence. And I'll tell you this, if they didn't do this story, I'd have thought Trump was going to lose. Because I've been saying it for a long time. I think Joe Biden is very likely going to be the next, he's going to be the next president.
And Tim, that headline got me. I read that on Twitter and I was like, fuck.
But check it out. Right. But listen, the fact that they would say something so brazen says to me, somebody's scared. Because look, what you got to understand is that these news outlets, not every single journalist is a political activist, but there are political activists there. I'll give you a good example. Politico wrote a story in, I think it was January of 2017, about Ukrainian meddling in the U.S. election and how the Ukrainians were desperate now that Trump had won to make amends. Later on, when this became big news with the impeachment, Politico ran another story claiming there never was Ukrainian interference in the election, which is really strange because they were the ones who reported it. So are you going to retract They didn't retract. So Politico is simultaneously running a story saying Ukrainians meddled and we're trying to make amends with Trump, and Ukrainians never meddled. It's fake news.
I remember.
Because the person who wrote the fake news, that Ukrainian meddling was fake news, is the activist. An individual who's got a contract with MSNBC, writing a story that supports the political narrative. So I'm not saying there's a grand conspiracy where it's Mockingbird and the journalists were hired by the CIA. I'm saying these people get these jobs because they are Democrats. They want Democrats to win. And then they say, I'm a journalist, but the Democrats are always right.
But Operation Mockingbird was a real thing in the 70s and before, when the CIA would hire and pay journalists to write pro-American propaganda. And for all we know, it's still going on. They said they stopped doing it.
Well, if I could even add, for those who remember during these times, let's not forget the New York Times pushed the Iraq War. Then after we find out that it was a quagmire, then the New York Times comes out, oh, well, maybe it wasn't as bad as we thought and there was no weapons of mass destruction. Come on, you had editors pushing this thing.
Check this out. Pull this up from Politico. Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump backfire. Kiev officials are scrambling to make amends with the president-elect after quietly working to boost Clinton. From January 11th, 2017, let's jump forward a couple of years to November 8th, 2019. Ukraine didn't interfere in 2016. Trump officials testified. Okay, perhaps the qualifier there is Trump officials testified. So is Politico now going to retract their article and say we're bad at what we do and we write fake news?
They are not.
Nope.
No.
So either way, these news organizations are garbage.
Okay, so the structural element here that is leading us to this conclusion that the cultural war is not going to be over in this election, but yet is going to persist on further, is the fact that we have no national social cohesion. And that comes from the internet and social media. Instead of one voice, Walter Cronkite telling everybody how to feel every night, what to think, what the story is, one to many, just like your professor to the crowd, like the preacher to the audience, to the flock. Now we've got many speaking to many, creating narratives that fit with all of our different genetic makeup and backgrounds and histories. Why would we all be ready for one narrative? I don't know. Now that there's a million narratives make you feel good. They make you feel sane. They make you feel like you understand the world. They make you feel like you know who's on your team. That's how we join teams, is by having a common shared knowledge, a common imagined order in their mind. And that's a narrative. And now that there's a million narratives, there's going to be a million tribes, and there's no cohesion.
So what do you think happens after everything we saw with these Trump supporters getting attacked? If Trump does, if let's say they nullify this election, 150,000, 153, maybe they won't do it, because what do? You disenfranchise all these voters? Because I don't know.
I really don't know.
But what the Trump campaign has said in their lawsuit is injunction against certification because of the discrepancies, because of the problems. Only way you can do it. So that's
state legislation.
Imagine if Pennsylvania and Nevada they can't be certified. Joe Biden drops down, I think, 31 electoral votes. Trump still needs to find, I think, 6 to knock Joe Biden down under 270.
That's not impossible.
One more state. Mm-hmm. And then what do you think happens if Trump does? It's not about all of this evidence of voter fraud. That's a lot of Trump supporters don't understand. There's certainly evidence. There's the sworn affidavits. There's like the weird mathematical anomalies. I think the biggest evidence comes from Matt Brainerd when he found people who changed their addresses but still had voted, or Nashawn Garrett, who says, I did not vote. That's like the best evidence we have so far. They keep adding qualifiers to it, though. Substantial voter fraud or widespread voter fraud. If you find a marked bill, okay, if there's a guy walking on the street and he buys a coffee with a marked $100 bill, like it's got blue ink on it, you're going to be like, where'd you get that? We just had a bank robbery. Now someone's trying to spend the money from the robbed bank. It's only one bill out of the how many they stole. You're going to get detained and asked for question, and they're going to question you and try and find more evidence. And maybe you stumbled upon it. Maybe it flew out of a car, but they're going to want to know why you had it. So if we hear one dude says, I did not vote, well, now we got to go and figure out who else maybe didn't vote, investigate this.
That's the thing. This is an audit. Basically what we're doing is a forensic audit. We're taking a sample size and then trying to see if we need to take more action. You just take a sample, you study it, and if the percentages, say it's enough to warrant further action, you take further action.
So that's how it should be. Like, they brought up the concept of 2 different people that President Trump said were dead that were not. Yeah. And they were like, see, this never happens. But that doesn't go the other way.
Actually, it's worse than that.
If there were 2 examples of people who said that they didn't vote, but they actually got their ballots mailed in for them, they don't consider that. They don't treat that like an audit.
It's actually much worse than that. There was Flecka's. You guys know Flecka's. He put out this list of 10,000 people he says are dead. So I think it was USA Today. I can't remember which organization did a fact check. And they said, we grabbed a sample of 30 or so, around 30, and went through to figure out if these people were actually dead. And what we found was, we couldn't contact every single one.
Because they're dead?
Maybe. Hold on. Here's the best part. Here's the best part. They said, we were able to find that some of these people simply had the same name as their parents, or their birthday was entered wrong. And in one instance, one of the voters was actually dead. So I'm like, wait. Hold on. If you pull 30 out of 10,000 and find one, okay, divide the 10,000 by 30. Is that how many dead voters actually voted?
And then take that 10,000 into the rest of the election.
Exactly.
This is when the media bros accidentally tell the truth.
Yeah, I know. True.
It's framing. If you tell me you did a random audit and found one of the voters actually was really dead, doesn't that raise alarm bells?
Yeah, it sure should.
Turns out we grabbed a random sample and actually found a dead voter. I read that and I'm like, How is it that they glossed over that fact? Well, it's because most of the ones we found were actually alive. Okay,
Right.
great. How about you do an audit of the full 10,000? Tell me how many dead voters there are.
Well, it's like you
That's
said.
crazy.
It's like you said in the past. If this happens even one time, this is something that we have to consider. And they
Like I said,
don't.
a bank gets robbed, and then you see a dude trying to spend a marked bill. You're gonna be like, "Hey, buddy, where'd you get that?" And then you might actually you get a warrant. We're gonna search your vehicle because we saw that a cop walks by, he looks in the car, and he sees the bill. And then, well, you still got to get a warrant for it. But like, let's see, you go to someone's house and they see in the window there's, a blue ink on a shirt. They're going to be like, that's evidence. It's a sign or indication that something may be true. They then get a warrant, do an investigation, go in the house, and hey, maybe they don't find anything. Maybe the guy just bought blue ink because he wanted to be like David Cross from Arrested Development or something. Or maybe they go in and find big old bags of cash. This is the craziest thing. They keep saying Trump has given no proof of widespread voter fraud. Did Trump deploy like 300,000 federal agents across the country to audit every single election? No, then of course you're not going to find. That's the trick they do. That's the wordplay. Trump has found evidence, and even the minor evidence presented, like the Nevada poll worker said straight up, this weird thing happened where they came out of a Biden van, had a box of ballots or something. And I said, and she went on Laura Ingraham and said this. The guy Nashon Garrett saying, I did not vote. Those are signs or indications that fraud has occurred. Now we have to stop. Send in the investigators to see if there is widespread voter fraud. It makes you wonder, when Trump's legal team got threatened into quitting, you saw this Porter Wright, I think it's called Porter Wright and Morris, LLP, were harassed by the Lincoln Project and then abruptly withdrew from their case in Pennsylvania. They were putting out the phone numbers and email addresses of their lawyers, targeting their clients. That's not something honest actors do. No. If you think you're going to win, and Trump, they keep saying Trump's lawsuits are frivolous and a waste of time. What a crazy waste of time.
Then let him play out.
Then why is the press lying about him? And why are they attacking, like threatening and harassing the legal teams that are filing these suits?
It's just
and the list.
Disgusting.
I think it has to do with the U.S. diplomat that admits to telling commander-in-chief lies about troop levels in Syria. I think that there's something going on here. Why were they lying to the president about the levels of troops in Syria when he wanted to withdraw?
We are not in control. The American people lost control a long time ago. This was the most infuriating thing. I tell you, man, when I read this story, I almost punched a hole in my monitor. Donald Trump wanted to withdraw our troops from Syria, and U.S. officials lied to him and us about how many troops we have in Syria. And then all the Democrats and Republicans were like, Trump, you can't withdraw all of our troops from Syria. Leave in a certain number. So Trump agreed, okay, we'll leave in 200. Trump famously then holds a press conference where he's like, they want us to guard the oil, so we're going to keep 200, soldiers there to guard the oil. Turns out there's way more people on the ground, and they lied. And the crazy thing is how the left gloats and is laughing about it.
They laughed about it.
The American people voted for a president who said, I am going to get our troops out of these forever wars. And the American people want that to happen.
Yes.
So they lied to the president. They lied to us. And my mind is blown that after I saw that, I posted on Facebook to all the people who voted for Joe Biden, after everything the Obama administration did, getting us into more foreign entanglements, more conflict in North Africa and the Middle East. I hope the blood of these dead children weighs heavy on your conscience every night you go to sleep because you voted for this. I voted for Obama the first time I learned my lesson. And then I walked away because that was insane. Now we get Donald Trump, and he was not good in his first few years. He hired Bolton. I say it all the time. What a dumb move. But Trump started making good moves on foreign policy. Now what happens? They lie, and then they justify it. They laugh. And all of these people on the left, I posted this on Facebook saying, when I said this really shocking thing, sure, they were like, well, Trump should have known. I'm like, why are you defending the warmongers who blow up kids?
Yeah.
Trump tried to get them out. They lied. Well, Trump should, Trump is bad.
So when I was on here last time, we talked about this. We talked about how the Trump administration had fired some people over at Department of Defense, and they had installed some of their Trump loyalists over there. And we joked around saying, is this like a head counting exercise? What's going on? I think the headline on that talk was, is there a coup coming? We were joking around about that. So I called my guys. I have some sources in the White House, and I talked to them, and they told me, and they assured me 100% that the entire reason that they have made these personnel changes at the Department of Defense is to ensure that the president's orders are faithfully carried out and executed to his desire within the law and with the intent of the people that voted him into office, to remedy what is happening in Syria and to try to end the wars and try to get our people out and to do what was ordered from the beginning but he was thwarted by the deep state. You know, it's not a conspiracy theory. The bureaucratic state, the deep state, they have their own agendas, they have their own plans, and they are the ones that are in control. The people in the field can lie. They can say the troops are there. They're not there. And so they put people now into these positions to make sure that the president's orders are faithfully executed. I wish it would have happened years ago. He's been friggin', C-blocked the whole way. He's been totally stymied and everything, but now he's really trying to make that happen. And if he can do that, that's wonderful. But it's also just an example of how corrupt the deep state is, how corrupt the moneyed military interests are, how corrupt our foreign policy is. And Trump, he gets a bad rap, but doesn't he? He has shown consistent sympathy for children. And consistent, well, in some cases, I suppose, and consistently wanting to end war.
If I could just, it was just, for me, just kind of sitting back, but it was just disgusting to see all the mainstream media and journalists just like laughing about it, almost like it was an inside joke. And it's just like, it's our middle class Americans that we send to those wars to go fight for you guys. And you guys just could sit back and laugh and make all this money. It's absolutely sick. And it's just sick to see, Joe Biden out here toting, Black Lives Matter. But what about the black kids that you bombed in the Middle East all those years? You took us 2 to 5, from 2 to 7 wars. And it's just, to me, it was disgusting to see that journalist list just put laughing emojis when, like, dude, it's our American brothers and sisters are over there, man.
Think about the amount of money we spend to do all that while everyone's been complaining about what's going on in Flint, Michigan. I bring it up every time. It's the perfect example. We haven't solved the problem of the water crisis in Flint, yet you've got people laughing about how they lied to the American people to keep troops in Syria. Who wanted to go to Syria? Obama did. Yep. For the Qatar-Turkey pipeline, and because we have proxy wars over natural gas and other resources. Look, I totally get it. These people want to make good money, and it's good for America and everybody. But is it worth destabilizing the entire region, creating space for ISIS? Yep. Okay, we should not have been involved in this. You look at these photos, man, from Syria. These photos from Aleppo. There are ancient structures. There are thousands of years of ancient history. But more than that, the lives of these families, if you look at these beautiful photos from Aleppo before the war, and then you look at after the war and it's rubble, chaos, and death, that's what they wanted. And for what? I'll tell you this. These people think we're gonna get our pipeline through Syria, through Turkey. We're going to make cheap gas available for the people in Europe. And that sounds an awful lot like what the left would call white supremacy, isn't it? They created a refugee crisis where people are fleeing on what's called the Eastern Mediterranean route in boats that are flipping over, capsizing. Kids are dying, washing up on shore. And they say, oh, this problem. And I was there. I talked to some of these refugees. I talked to these people. And it seems like every single time they try and manipulate me to give them support for these crises, they never want to actually solve them. They want to make them worse. So I tell you this. Is it good for America if we get our natural gas in Europe offset the Russian monopoly? Oh, it'll be great for us. Is it worth all of the dead and displaced and the chaos and the destruction? Absolutely not. But this is what we get when you have a bureaucratic class that runs the government. It doesn't matter who you elect. The Democrats and the Republicans, the rhinos and the dinos, just want the keys to the castle. Mm-hmm. You vote for me, I win the contest, then I sit back and pretend like I'm doing something. Mm-hmm. When Trump said, I want to get our troops out of the Middle East, what happens? You get all of these Democrats, Republicans saying, no, you can't do it. Even Mitch McConnell's like, no, you can't do it. Our allies in the region. Shut up. This is what the American people want. And they voted for Trump for a reason.
That's why a lot of the establishment, Tim, on both sides are actually happy with a Joe Biden presidency, because then life in Washington goes back to the status quo, back to more wars, big business, everyone's making money.
The number of
the middle class keeps getting shrunk. Our manufacturing jobs keep getting shipped to China, and our suicide rate and our opioid problems in middle America keep going up.
This country is being extracted. Dylan Ratigan said it. I think it was 7 years ago.
Yeah, 2013.
In 2013, you see this famous rant where he said it's being extracted through trade, a bunch of other things. But this is what we get. Joe Biden says we're going to increase the corporate tax rate. The Obama administration wanted us in the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a free trade agreement with Pacific countries, most namely China. That means that you put a factory in China, you can send all the goods back to America free of charge, so you can use cheap sweatshop labor with no health insurance, no minimum wage, and the people in China are working like the Foxconn factories in such horrifying conditions. They walk off, they put suicide nets up around the building. That's what Joe Biden and the Obama administration were supporting.
China wasn't in the first TPP, oddly enough. It was
Really?
13 Pacific countries, but China wasn't one of them, although they've reformatted a new Pacific partnership with now Canada and China's in this one.
So here's what
I think
happens.
they're trying to get us into that.
What do you think happens when you increase the corporate tax rate to 39.6%, up from I think like 28? Then you say we're going to increase the minimum wage to $15, but anything you make overseas can come right back to this country
why
free
would
of
they
charge.
stay in the US?
Every company is going to be like, okay, then we'll go to China.
Right.
Like, is that what you want us to do? And they're going to do it. And that means good paying middle class jobs gone. Yep. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. And now we got COVID. Now we got the lockdowns coming back. And Fauci is saying a year. Q3 of 2021 until we go back to normal, he says.
And one thing that just I don't know why it's not talked about in mainstream media. It's when these manufacturing jobs are shipped, now we have all these fathers and dads in these communities with no jobs. Mm-hmm. Then they fall into depression. Now we have divorce going up. We have foster care going up. Opioid abuse going up. This is not good for our country. We need candidates like, not like more populist, working class. There was actually an interesting study by Heather Lung from Washington Post. She put out this report that voters in the Midwest who were more afraid to lose their job to automation voted for Trump. Voters who weren't afraid of automation voted for Biden. I think that says everything about who has the working class message and who doesn't.
Did you guys see the video from the World Economic Forum about not owning anything?
Yep.
In the video, it says Western values have been tested to the breaking point. And then it goes on to talk about how we got to do something different. And we will create, they say our predictions is that in the future, you won't own anything and you'll be happy. And maybe that's true. If they take away your ability to know, I was talking about this in one of my videos. You guys have seen Stargate, right?
Yes.
You've seen Stargate?
With MacGyver?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So when they go there, he tries drawing something on the ground and they freak out. Like, no, it's forbidden to write things down. People will be kept very happy in their ignorance. You take away their ability to know how good things can really be. Sure, they'll be happy not owning anything.
What was the title of the article? I don't know anything, or I don't own anything. I don't have any privacy, and life is better than I ever expected. Absolutely amazing.
Why would they say that?
They're just trying to destroy the family so bad.
I'm
that's for sure.
To agree.
That's all about blurring boundaries, right?
Yeah,
all this is about indiscriminate connection, no boundaries.
Communism.
What we need is strategic disconnection. We need barriers that allow what we want to come and go. This is a theme for the next 20 years, guys. It's not about indiscriminate connections. It's about strategic disconnection at this point. Now, what I want to know is that the World Economic Forum, the advocates of capitalism, have they been pushing neoliberal trade? Have they been looking to reduce the barriers between capital flows and trade flows and labor flows, etc.? They're trying to universalize the entire world with Western economic values, and now they're saying that they're flawed somehow? I don't understand
that. It says
that.
on the World Economic Forum website, the values that built the West will have been tested to breaking point. We forget the checks and balances that bolster our democracies at our peril, writes Kenneth Roth, Executive Director of Human Rights Watch.
I am offended that they're using the term checks and balances in this instance. Highly offended.
They extracted our wealth with this Federal Reserve fiat, and now they're going to crash us.
Yeah.
Well, I think they extracted our wealth by free trade agreements, driving up minimum wages, which incentivizes companies to take advantage of transferring the factories overseas. And then to add insult to injury, they crank up the corporate tax rate. So the companies are like, we have no choice. We're going to give up 40% of our revenue unless we move to Mexico or China. Let's go.
It's the first time in my life I'm going to agree with the Black Bloc protesters. Let's go back to the 1999 World Trade Organization, the battle in Seattle. Everybody was arguing free trade with China means a race to the bottom on wages, a race to the bottom on human rights issues, and a race to the bottom on the environment. And guess what? They weren't wrong in that regard. They were not wrong.
Those people are now the Trump supporters. Yep. The people that were challenging that are still challenging it. There are certainly a lot of people probably at the battle in Seattle who were just there because they were part of the leftists' coalition.
Definitely.
Now,
I was being a little facetious.
But look at Occupy Wall Street. They were protesting the Obama administration. Now these people voted for Joe Biden. That is insane.
Thank you. The realignment.
It's
exactly.
this sociological ignorance that we've been foisted upon ourselves. They took the cameras out of the war zone. This is a huge problem. In Vietnam, you had cameramen on the ground watching dudes' legs get blown off.
No, we have more cameras
watching
than ever, dude.
Barely, not on the soldiers'
not
helmets.
true. Yes, we do.
We need
Yeah.
helmet cams, man.
We actually
You can go to Funker and watch people bleeding out. But
and you
it's
can
not,
watch for the first time a video of rebels in Syria shooting guns at a tank, and the tank with GoPro mounted firing back. That happened a few years ago.
That's awesome. But I
And
know
that's
that
more
people
cameras
that I
than
know
ever.
that were in the first Iraq war that were going door to door and mowing families down didn't have cameras on their shoulders.
And the atrocities in Vietnam didn't have cameras on them for the most part either.
Well, when we put the cameras in, the war stopped.
We have more cameras now than ever.
But they're not being used properly, man. We
No,
don't get
the
to
issue-
see.
the issue
we had
is-
that drone camera that was leaked by WikiLeaks wasn't that was leaked. We didn't know that our drones were taking
That
out
wasn't a drone. That was an Apache helicopter.
Yeah, exactly, you're right.
That was
Thank
a
you.
guy who chose to
Yeah.
pull the trigger and kill that Reuters
And those
journalist.
cameras weren't open. Those are like secret. They don't want to show us because it's what we're doing to people, and what's happening to the people that are over there is
Bro,
hideous.
We know how bad that is, and the bigger problem we face right now is it's never going to stop so long as when Trump issues an order on behalf of the American people who voted for him, when he said, I'm going to end these wars, and then they say, oh yeah, it's all good. We've withdrawn all the troops. You're good, Trump. And then he goes, all right, excellent. And then finds out it never really happened. You know what that means? They were just waiting for the moment when Trump was out of office so that Joe Biden could come back in and say, re-up in the Middle East, boys. Send them on in.
And for reference, this is James Jeffrey, State Department Special Representative for Syria Engagement and Special Envoy to the Global Coalition to Defeat ISIS, is the guy that admitted to the subterfuge in an interview with Defense One.
It's Obama's fault.
Dude, Susan Rice is coming right back in. She
Oh my
literally took us
gosh.
into Libya. Like,
So depressing.
This cabinet should just tell you everything
Trump
about
was
where we're
not
going.
supposed to win, man.
Dude,
Trump was
I-
not
we're
We're
supposed
going
to
right
win.
back to neoliberalism.
I'm terrified.
I am exhausted, and I'm going to speak for the American people for a second. We are all exhausted. This is crazy making stuff. It's not only crazy, but it makes you crazy.
Yeah, it does.
Getting information and feeling like it doesn't sit right or it doesn't make sense, and then you need to like reach out and grasp and try to find reality and try to get your feet down on the ground, try to have some sort of stability. It is demoralizing, destabilizing. It's exhausting. Now your kids are at home and they're having trouble at school and corona, and you can't work and you can't go to the football game and you can't go see your grandmother and you can't have freaking Thanksgiving and you can't have freaking Christmas. They're just beating us over the head with misinformation and lies and distortions and just, I mean, look, I'm tired, man. And I fight this every day. I fight to try to find the truth. I go out in the streets to try to witness what's actually happening. We do these investigations. We have these conversations, and we have stamina for it, but it's still a grind.
The Great Reset, bro.
It's still a grind.
That's what
and
it's all about.
It hurts.
It's the Great Reset.
And I feel bad for like the average common American citizen who is just but merely a pawn in this whole game, floating on this ocean, getting tossed all around, and nobody gives a crap about them. Nobody gives a crap about your kids. No one gives a crap about your kid that was a straight A student all through school, and now all of a sudden is failing tests because virtual school is a bunch of crap, and the teachers aren't even doing their job. My kids just figured out the other day. They're like, my teacher lives an hour away so that she can afford a cheap house, and she drives into the city to get the fancy urban salary for her job, and now she doesn't have to do that commute. I wonder, she's the only one who's winning in all this. My kid's starting to figure this out. So when I have sympathy for everyone.
Have your kids figured out how to do a screen grab recording so they can turn it on and walk away and pretend like they're in school?
They have figured out all kinds of stuff. But my kids are intrinsically motivated to do as well as they possibly can, which is why this virtual school stuff is killing them. But just on that last note, guys, I look at everybody out there and I feel it, man. It makes me crazy. All of this makes me crazy. It must be making you crazy. It's a deliberate destabilization of our minds so we can be controlled. So we
Great
can
Reset.
And
then
The Great Reset. It's on their website. They talk about what they want to do. They said COVID is an opportunity to have a reset of global capitalism to benefit the stakeholders. It's all about, look, man, I got the thing. They say they want to, let me just read it. We are eating much less meat in the future. Farewell hospital, hello home spittle. Look,
What?
This sounds a lot like what they're actually doing. U.S. dominance is over. We have a handful of global powers. There is a global price on carbon. This is from the World Economic Forum, 8 predictions for the world in 2030. What is happening right now with the COVID lockdowns? It fits perfectly into their plans for the Great Reset. They literally say, Justin Trudeau said it.
Yeah.
It's not some conspiracy. They said, well, COVID happened. Now's our opportunity to do all these policies we wanted to do. They talk about how, and to be fair, it is true that since the lockdowns, the Earth has been healing.
Sure, it
in
has.
terms of like environmental pollution is going away, and that's a great thing. But I have to wonder, if these people really want to bring about a better future, why is it that instead of encouraging people around the world to participate in something cool and exciting, they just trick people, lie to them, beat them down, degrade them, insult them, cause conflict and strife? I think about the moon landing, how that brought a nation together about this grand mission to go to the moon. I look at what Elon Musk is doing and how people are inspired by this. But you know what I hear from leftists about Elon Musk? He's wasting all that money, sending that car into space. He could be feeding kids or giving them health care and stuff like that. And it's like, dude, if you want to make the world better, if you want to clean the environment, if you want space technology, you have to create a culture by propping up people who succeed, showing kids, look how awesome this guy is, who built a rocket ship to Mars. You want to be like him.
Did you see
Instead,
what?
They beat us down, they lock us down, and they tell us to shut up. That is not about creating a better world.
Well,
that is
Elon-
about controlling everything.
Yesterday, did you see what Elon did yesterday?
What did he do?
They sent their first rocket to the space station.
Yes.
Yeah, it was cool.
And they're coming back, and they're going to keep doing it. This is the first
So
one.
neat.
So
Think about who is made famous by these companies, by these algorithms for the most part. It's reality TV.
Yeah.
It's video games. It's just mindless. It's not. They're not actively trying to encourage people to strive to better humanity. They're purposefully just dumping masturbatory pleasures in people's faces and then coming out and saying, now we have to lock everything down.
I hate saying they so much. I really do. Are we talking about Klaus Schwab
I'm
and
talking
the
about
World
corporate-
Economic Forum?
I'm talking about rich corporate
Like,
elites,
like it's
multi-billion dollar
And you're right.
corporations.
It may not even be important who exactly
Government
the
officials,
person is.
Democrats,
like cutting off
some
the head
Republicans.
of the snake doesn't make the problem stop, because the problem is systemic. It's a financial, like we live in this
It's the World
capitalistic
Economic
world.
Forum. There
yeah,
you go.
And it's a
Yeah.
money thing. It's like
Davos.
a pyramid money scheme where the people, you can never have enough because the people at the bottom owe interest back to the people that loaned it to them in the first place.
Yeah.
Yes. Think about the tremendous transfer of wealth that is the global the lockdowns.
This is the greatest transfer of wealth in American history.
you
Exactly.
can't run your own business.
And Tim, pre-COVID, the American middle class was already getting crushed.
I'll tell you what's
Pre-COVID.
going
Right.
to happen. Whether it's intentional or not, this is some kind of regular people are going to lose access to their ownership. They won't own their buildings anymore. Their business is gone. They can't pay the mortgage. Gone. People are losing their property and the things they own and the things they love, and it's creating a crisis. But rich people are getting richer and richer.
This is a great time to
They're
be Jeff
controlling
Bezos.
more and
Oh,
more
for
and
sure.
more.
Yeah.
Or just a shareholder. So ultimately what ends up happening is regular working class people are being cut out of ownership. They're being pushed down into a permanent underclass. And then they're also creating a permanent upper class with no mobility between.
Okay, so when you're like the president and we have to go to war, it's really hard you have to make decisions that you know where people are going to die. But you know that it's for the best interest for both everybody and for the world and for the country. We're there for like a good cause, war, right?
Right.
And so these people have to train themselves to stop thinking about people as individuals, and they start thinking about them as pieces on a board. And so when you get to a certain level of detachment, and I'm not making excuses, I'm just describing what happens. These people, the World Economic Forum, Davos people, they don't care about an individual. They just literally do not.
Hey,
They're
it sounds like
thinking-
all
hold
of
on.
DC, Jack.
I know,
It
but
really does,
they're,
yeah.
they're thinking
Numbers.
They're thinking about big,
So-
large groups of numbers and long spans of time, and they talk about creative destruction, right? Like that's a fundamental tenet of free market capitalism is creative destruction. And what does that mean? That means people get sick and die and lose their jobs, and their families get busted up, and their towns go to hell, and the factories rust out, and there's misery and death and drug addiction. That's creative destruction. Okay. So like that's a different type of person, a different type of thinking. They don't care about people. They're thinking big theories and big long-term projects. And it just doesn't matter to us because we don't care about 300 years from now and whatever organization you want. We care about my family and my kids and am I going to eat? And why is my uncle overdosing on heroin in the car with his kids in the backseat?
So I think that they would probably call this triage. because they think they are calling this an emergency.
Yeah.
They would call that triage because it takes a few eggs that you have to break to make an omelet.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter to them if it's you or your parents or your grandparents.
But it just becomes a game.
And they're
to
just
Right, it is a
rubbing
game.
it in at this point.
Exactly.
Gavin Newsom locked down California back in March. All these businesses going out. Just last week, gets caught going to a dinner party enjoying his nice
They don't take
Napa
it
Valley
seriously.
wine while everyone goes out of business. Same thing for Nancy Pelosi. Held a nice special dinner in Washington D.C. with all the Dem reps and GOP leaders.
This
You
is-
can't do that in California.
You can't,
But Nancy,
Thanksgiving.
but Nancy Pelosi can because she knows what's best.
'Cause she's
This is like,
important.
it's almost like, you ever see Kingsman? Is that movie Kingsman? Movie's
Great
great.
movie.
Samuel Jackson plays this villain who says the earth is overpopulated. Global warming is basically a fever. And if we don't stop the spread, then the earth's going to have a fever that kills out humans. So he decides time to kill all of he tries to basically create a program to kill all the poor people, and then he gives special access to all of his friends and all the wealthy elites and global leadership, so they're safe from his program, which makes them go nuts.
So interesting.
Yeah, that's the bad guy.
That's
the
probably
bad guy.
Jeff Bezos, man. I mean,
I don't know about Bezos,
No, we
But-
know if he was
Necessarily
going
that
but
one.
it's but it's
Yeah.
but listen, it's more than that. Bezos started a company. He owns all these shares. But there's a lot of people who own tons of stocks that will ride. Like if you buy Amazon big box store stock, you're going to be okay. But stock is mostly held by the wealthy, not by regular working class and poor people. Who's got disposable income to be like, I'm going to put in 50 grand?
That
into
is
Amazon?
largely true, but also most unionized workers, teachers unions, etc., their
Pensions.
pensions are dependent on
Right.
the value of the equities in the stock market. Anybody that has a professional job that's W-2 usually has a 401k. They have an IRA of some kind. Lots of Americans own stock.
Yes,
Lots of Americans.
But think about what happens with another year-long lockdown of sorts.
True. There's no income to buy
If-
your stocks with.
Exactly.
Well, it's not just that. It's that are what all the pension funds going to be like? We better buy nothing but Amazon, and then we end up in like that movie Idiocracy, where Costco is just this massive multi-square mile building, the
need to
only
watch
store. We're gonna have just Amazon. It's going to be called the Amazon. It's going to be like, I'm going to get some music. Let's go to the Amazon. I'm going to go see a movie. Let's go to the Amazon. That's going to be it. That's it.
It's got what plants need.
It's got what plants need, man.
If these people are trying to, I don't know if they're trying to kill the poor people. I don't know if that's the right way to
No,
phrase it.
I don't think so. I
But
don't
they're-
think it's
they
coordinated
see it
that
as
way.
inevitable, and they're trying to mitigate the damage. I wonder if they're sedating, if there's like an attempt at sedating the population so as it dwindles, it won't flip out. And that's
No,
in
no,
the
no,
food
no.
supply.
No, absolutely not. The riots, the DAs from all these Democrat DAs just cut the rioters loose.
Yeah.
They're not trying to have anyone sedated.
I don't think they're involved. I'm talking about like Davos, these people at the Economic Forum that are like planning this grand reset of the
Great
population.
Reset.
Yeah.
Of global capitalism, they say.
They're trying to bypass like a riot. They don't want us to flip out on them, so they're trying to.
I disagree.
Keep us. They're not trying to like. If they're trying to suppress us or confuse, they're definitely trying to confuse us and keep us ignorant.
I think they're telling us outright. Look, they're not
is what
hiding
they're
anything
doing.
from anybody. They're saying straight up on their website, the Great Reset. This is an urgent need for global stakeholders to cooperate in simultaneously managing the direct consequences of the COVID-19 crisis to improve the state of the world. The World Economic Forum is starting the Great Reset Initiative. It's not a secret. They're probably politicians, groups that are like, it's a good idea. We definitely should. Otherwise, the planet is destroyed. And so what you really have is people like Gavin Newsom, who is just a wealthy elite who says rules for thee, but not for me. That's the way it always goes. Mm-hmm. They can have parties. They can go out to eat. You get locked down because you're the rabble.
So that's like like the SS, or a group of people that have been bought out to do the guard duty, and while the rest of the people suffer.
If you want to take this conversation to the next conspiracy level, the tinfoil hat level, I recommend watching this BBC miniseries called Utopia. And the basic gist of this miniseries is that it was like 6 episodes. You got to watch. It's fantastic. Is that there was a virus spread into the world. And then the trick is it's the vaccine to the virus that sterilizes everybody.
Dun dun dun.
And so then it's the end of humanity, except for this one particular race that the geneticists. Spoiler alert, sorry, but it's really, really great. It's great for this time period. Great
It's on
music,
BBC?
graphic novel. It's very cool. It's all very cyberpunk.
Are you saying I'm
being
being
a
tinfoil hatty right now?
Yeah, maybe
Just
a little.
bit. There's tinfoil hats all over the
It's
studio
true. There
right now.
literally are.
So let's put it this way. Donald Trump will certainly stop a lockdown, or for the most part, there won't be a national lockdown under Trump He'll shore up our borders. He'll bring back our manufacturing. He'll do a lot of the stuff. There's this Clark County thing about the ballots is really interesting. I'm wondering if Trump really can, find his path. Will he really expose something? I tell you, when I see these people, there are people on the right hit me up and they're like showing me all these lists of all these crazy trust the plan kind of things, and I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, man. I just don't buy it. I don't think there's going to be some magic, Hail Mary pass is going to score the touchdown for Trump and he's going to come back. I mean, what do you guys think?
No.
I'm in the same boat, Tim. I really don't see it at this point. I mean,
maybe, but I don't.
The
see
evidence
it.
speaks to the opposite. The evidence speaks to the contrary. Sidney Powell was not mobilized. Matt Braynard was not mobilized. The best and brightest minds for data analysis, election fraud analysis, legal analysis, and litigation were not mobilized prior to this event. They admitted as much. They had vacations planned. They were sitting around with their families, and they have stepped up to action as a civic-minded citizen, mind you. They have just volunteered their time and energy. There is no evidence. I'm sorry. Anybody Q, just please unfollow me now. I went through a whole Q trolling night one night.
I think I remember that.
Came home drunk one night and just was being really nasty to Q followers and stuff. Just get out of here. Get off of my timeline. There's no coordinated plan. If there were, then these key people would have been activated prior. They wouldn't be telling me stories about how they cried when they told their wives that they couldn't go on this vacation that they had promised them for 4 years.
No, don't you understand, Jack?
That's all part of the subterfuge.
Art of war. You need your opponents to think you're off balance.
That's right.
But then strike.
That's right.
There's always some excuse as to how Trump secretly is going to pull it off. No, I think Trump wasn't supposed to win.
No.
And he ended up winning because Hillary Clinton was awful, and Trump spoke to a lot of people who were...
We launched him. This is the other thing I want to talk about. The network. It was the MAGA network that launched Trump into office. It wasn't that Trump was the most amazing politician or this or that or the other thing. He was there to ride the wave. We picked him. We looked at 17 people and we said, we want you. You're the guy we're going to launch. The network launched Trump into the White House. And guess what? The network still exists. So the network is going to persist. And I believe that the MAGA network is actually stronger now than it was even just 6 months ago. And they're going to continue to push. And there's going to be candidates in 2022. And there's going to be candidates in 2024. And we're going to be, if need be, the hardcore opposition that the country depends on in the next couple of years, for sure.
And I agree with you, Jack. I think what Donald Trump did is he came in and he broke the Republican Party and said, we are now going populist. Either you're America first, worker class friendly policies, or you're getting voted out. And I really think any old GOP candidates, your time is very limited, because I think that MAGA crowd is going to be voting out people and putting populist candidates in. We were seeing the same thing in the Democratic Party, but the establishment is better blocking off the Bernies and the Yangs. But I really do think that the Republican Party, we're not going to see it be this old GOP. I mean, Trump, since I believe 1960, won the most non-white voter support for a Republican candidate.
Yes.
I think in Texas, he flipped 5 Hispanic communities into Republican counties. We saw it in Florida, essentially the Latino vote carried Trump to the win. So I really think that the Republican Party is going to really shift to this American first populist movement, and we're going to keep seeing it. Yeah.
The analysis, the voter shift analysis that you see in those election maps, it shows the arrows if the county moved blue or red. It is astounding when you look at the Texas border counties.
Right.
Yeah.
They have arrows that start on their map and go all the way into Arkansas, because they're so big that so many people shifted to the right. You see that in southern Florida, in I think it's in Dade County. You see a ton of that as well. That's huge. That makes me so happy. It's unifying. It's transracial. It doesn't matter. But to your point, I still think that Trump was an insurgent within the GOP. Trump battled the GOP throughout his entire time in the presidency. And I'm afraid that without a guy like Trump there, that the GOP is just going to collapse back on itself and just disregard everything that just happened the last 4 years and try to just press on with the corporatist uniparty BS that they've been doing for decades.
Let me ask you the challenging philosophical question.
Yes, sir. I'm ready for that.
If we carry on, let's assume that if humans just carry on as we do, this consumerist culture, expansion, would we eventually just destroy ourselves? Consume our resources, burn out?
No, because we have the interests of self-preservation. You would figure it out. You would figure out how to not burn yourself alive or how to extinct yourself. We've shown that to be the case all along through every transition in human history.
Well, so we've got reports of the Pacific trash gyres, all the garbage in the oceans. We've got ocean acidification, dead zones forming, climate change. Is that stuff really happening?
Who knows? Do you trust any of that information anymore?
This is
the
the challenge
framing.
now.
The framing. Oh, there's a dead zone in the ocean. Well, guess what? Remember the ozone hole?
Yeah.
Remember the hole in the ozone layer? They didn't tell you. They're like, the hole in the ozone is massive. Nobody told you that it had been there. And what is it getting any bigger?
Is it?
No.
What's going on with it now?
There's like a natural
that.
state of the ozone hole over like one of the poles or something. It's just a natural condition. But they were like, oh, look at this giant hole in the ozone layer. We're all going to die. The framing. Dead zone in the ocean. How do we know there haven't been dead zones in the ocean for 1 billion years?
There's regarding a few of the ocean problems. There's Boyan Slat. Have you guys followed his work? He's out there in the Pacific Ocean. He's built this giant rope that is basically catching the Pacific garbage patch because it spirals. So instead of going out and trying to get it, you just let it spiral to you, and then he collects the plastic and he'll bring it back to shore. Regarding oil spills, you can take magnets and drop iron oxide dust into the oil. Then you dip the magnet in, and the oil will magnetize to your stick, and you can withdraw the oil that way. You can also do something called iron fertilization, where you drop iron oxide into the ocean and it blooms plankton, which becomes fish food. So, in
There's
answer to your
solutions.
question, yeah, there are fusion power.
This is why I don't trust initiatives like the Great Reset. Because, like I said, if they really want, first of all, humans solve problems. You identify a problem, we try and figure out how to solve it. We always have.
Indeed.
More importantly, we could be building a culture around this. We could be doing like, take whatever popular culture is, and then you make the dude who's cleaning up the oil the high-profile celebrity. You give an algorithmic boost to those who do civic good. And then all of a sudden you got a dude who's like dancing to that, poppy TikTok song, and he's showing, like, look at the trash cleanup memes.
Yeah.
Where everybody wanted to do their video where they cleaned up all the garbage. That's the kind of thing.
I saw Scott Pressler at the march.
Oh, nice.
Hung out with him for 10 minutes.
Very cool.
But
Jumped
they're not building a culture around this stuff. They're not. They're talking
We
about, locking people down instead of changing and just encouraging people to do better and making it fun, exciting, and making it lucrative or making it respectable.
When you push a 12-year-old girl out onto stage to tell everybody to be very afraid, and they lecture you and they point their finger and wag their fingers and say we're all going to die, that's counterproductive. And we just tune that crap out.
Right. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
I don't think they want to encourage us. I think they want us gone.
That's what I'm
They
saying.
want,
I think they want us gone.
And these are, and when we say they, we're talking about the World Economic Forum people,
Right.
and Justin Trudeau, who also mentioned he wanted, we're gonna have a
Right.
reset.
That was the
Build back better.
creepiest
It was
video,
so
dude.
creepy.
He was just speaking all slowly and calmly and just matter-of-factly, like he kind of cared about you, but really didn't. He's like, we're just,
Definitely not.
the
Yeah.
Great Reset is coming. It'll be okay. Just take your pill and go
not
to
a
It's like
sleep.
They Live,
Yep.
man.
I had
You ever see that movie, They Live?
No.
Yeah, Roddy
Wow, come
Piper.
on. Yeah.
Right, well, I've seen him.
Check it out.
I've seen him in a steel
You gotta
cage
see They
match
Live, dude.
against
You're gonna love.
Adrian Adonis.
Oh, he's the
in
man.
in the late '80s,
Roddy,
dude.
Roddy.
WWF, thank you.
They
I don't even know
Live
what WWE
is when
is.
Roddy Piper finds sunglasses and he puts them on and he can see all the aliens.
Oh, beautiful.
And then like the
That's so
billboards
cool.
say like buy more.
Obey.
The money says this is your God. Like
Oh,
and then he tries to get some guy to wear the glasses and the guy's like, get away from me. So he wrestles him and
Edgy.
like
Yeah, it's like
he
a
beats him up.
20-minute fight
And then
scene
he
where they punch each other.
And then he
It's awesome.
forces, because he's Roddy Piper, man. He forces the glasses on the dude and the dude's like, he sees it and goes like, oh my God. And then he sees the aliens stop and look and they're like, they can see us. And it's like, and they were like humans, we're in league with them. But I'm saying it's almost like you have these ultra wealthy elites. Here's the way I put it. 'Cause I know people who like to go to the Bilderberg meetings where they're like, oh, these rich people are getting together. And I'm like, it's simple, dude. Birds of a feather flock together. All these rich, wealthy elites, they run these big companies. They hang out with each other. They're going to share ideas. It's just like how the journalists do the same thing. Birds of a feather flock together. The only problem is when people who are unaccountable and extremely powerful start talking about what they're going to do, I wouldn't call it a conspiracy. I would call it an emergent phenomenon of wealthy individuals who are just going to do things that don't help you but hurt you but help them.
Right. So the rich people, they get together and hang out and they just brainstorm. What should we do with all of our money? Where should we go? What? No, I mean, it's just a normal thing to do.
But I don't even think it's like that. I think it's probably like a guy goes, oh, so I'm going to buy Bitcoin. Really? You're going to buy Bitcoin? Yeah, I was hearing about that. Oh, I should build a Bitcoin thing. Next thing you know, these rich companies, like these companies are like, we're launching PayPal Bitcoin and stuff like that.
Yeah. Birds of a feather flock together. I was just made me think of like mainstream journalists. Where would they flock together? And I'm like, oh, alcoholics in a bar after
Yep.
work getting fat and like coordinating through Adderall dealers.
You're not wrong,
Sounds
though.
right.
Because when I worked in New York at these companies, they'd go out to the bar, and then it would be like me, a handful of people from Vice meeting with a handful of people from Huffington Post and BuzzFeed, all at this big table, just like everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
they're sharing all their stories, their ideas. They all agree on the same things, and they all go to their outlets and they all write the same stuff without fact checking it because they heard it from some guy. So I guess the question then is, it sounds like we all agree Trump is on the outs.
Yeah,
I do agree with that.
I do agree with that.
Well, it's not looking good. Let's say that for sure. I have no idea what's going to happen. The question that I always need to have answered in all these things is like, we need a lawyer. Like, I need a legal opinion. What level of fraud constitutes, not certifying? What level of fraud would make it historically reasonable to use to the state legislatures to slate electors in the electoral college? What level of fraud means we have to redo the whole thing? I don't know the answers to these questions, and so we're just speculating a lot. But at first glance, it does appear it's a long road.
Let's
for
say
Trump to hoe at this point.
Let's say Tim and Jack, whatever, Trump loses it. Where do you think Trump now goes with this whole media thing, this Fox News, Newsmax? Do you think he does that Trump TV and just takes out Fox News? Does he buy Newsmax? I mean,
I've heard that he might buy Newsmax.
What do you think is going to happen to that, like Fox News, Trump media? Where do we go now?
I don't know, but rumor is CNN's going up for sale.
I heard.
The
Great Reset.
Because AT&T is burning money and they're desperate, and CNN is worthless, especially considering their golden goose is going away.
Can I put my 2 cents in then, since Trump is leaving? I think what'll happen if he doesn't win this re-election is that he will build his own newsroom, and he'll become an influencer on politics without being president, which to me seems fantastic. You have none of the stress of being president, but you have all of the influence of being like this strong, powerful voice. This is not original. It's something Scott Adams has talked about, but I think that he might be right. I think that Trump would really love it.
I mean, do you think, Tim, that Trump just takes the sledgehammer at Fox News and just basically breaks
I don't know. I think Newsmax is already doing that.
Yeah.
So riots either way then, huh? Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All the way down.
Yeah.
Riots all the way down.
Regarding that, it's something I wanted to ask you guys, Jorge and Jack, since you guys are like experts, I would say. It's news experts. Framing the news. Framing. Like the argument that Tim and I were having about Andy No is it wasn't really a personal thing, but it was the way that the news was being described. I would go to his Twitter and I'd see just like 15-second clips of violence. And then at the top of his feed is PayPal me. And I'm like, okay, so he's like flashing violent images to get you to click to make a living. And that is an effective way to make a living. But I think it's terrorizing the population and splitting us up.
Or is it showing us what's really happening when no one else will?
Maybe both. But I was at the march and I didn't see any violence the entire day.
Well, I mean, I was at the march too, and I did. So,
but when I go to his page, it looks like it was all violent.
Hanging out at the Willard
for like 2 hours, 3 hours.
Exactly.
Well, look, Ian. I mean, I don't know if this helps, but like, if you went through my timeline, you would see right in the beginning, the Trump people, marching, having a good time. Then you saw the violence. But I do think, like for me, this is how I felt, was that after I documented the guy getting stomped out and the family get attacked, like for me, I was like, I need a break because I don't know how much more I could just show my audience. At the same time, like I want to show you guys what's going on in the reality and stuff. But at the same time, I don't know if you ever felt this doing your work, Tim, in the past, but like I don't want to be an anchor in the division either. Like I want to show you guys the facts. Like this is what's going on, but I don't want to be a part of like this whole division thing either. It's just a tough.
Nothing you can do, man.
There's nothing you can do. So
if you come out and say Antifa punched some old lady, they're going to be like, stop reporting that. Whose side are you on?
Let me share a little personal side of this. I showed the very first clip. I tweeted it out. I was like, holy crap, look at this. When the dude gets punched from behind. Then someone someone DM'd me what they called the full version.
Which is my
okay, so I tweeted that. No. This was an intermediate one. So I tweeted that, and I was like, look, this changes the whole story. It's not just a guy got sucker punched. Now, I left it purposely vague on purpose so that people could check it out and read what they want to read into it. And then I got your clip. And so I have all three in a thread. And I just highlighted, it's like, look, it just, the framing, your interpretation, all this matters in what narrative comes out of it. And for me, my goal is just to provide the clearest picture I can, whether or not it makes the Trump supporter look good or whomever looks bad, whatever. And, I lose followers over it. I don't care. I mean, my brand is just being on point and trying to tell the truth. So, but I was a victim, quote unquote, of that myself, because you only get availability. Right. Like, oh, I only got this one clip. Well, this clearly shows something. I'm gonna tweet it I'm going to report on it. Then you get another one. You're like, okay, well, that's kind of contradictory. Well, for me, at least, the choice was easy. I just posted it right after my first tweet, even though if it made the first one look bad. And then I got a third version, and I just put it right there in the same thread. And I just let people make up their minds on their own. So I think that there's an effective way to do it. But I totally feel what you're saying about, like, how much do I want to show people? How much do you even want to be around there? When I was out on the streets in the end of May, and there was like the arson and the huge vandalism, property destruction, and bricks getting thrown at the cops, and flashbangs going off, and gas everywhere, that was intense too. And I had to get out of there. I didn't want to go back. I've not been in war. I never served. I have no idea what it's like. But to me, that was the closest I had ever been. Dude, flashbangs going off 5 feet from your head, your eyes burning from gas, buildings on fire, people beating each other up in the streets, bricks being thrown at cops. Like, it was
crazy.
It was crazy, dude. It was
so
crazy.
Here's the issue. Andy No is highlighting things he thinks are important. And then people get mad that he's not highlighting the things they think are important.
Yeah.
They accuse him of lying or propagandizing because he said, whoa, look at this one important thing. And they're like, show the full video. You're a propagandist. And if Andy actually showed the full, what was it, probably like 10 or 15 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, even if you show the full video, it's still not okay what that guy did.
For sure.
Right.
But like Andy's perspective was probably like, wow, this guy was defending them and got sucker punched. I better show people he got sucker punched. And then they're like, but you're not showing the full context. And the reality is the leftists were falsely framing what really happened.
Yeah.
This guy was trying to defend people who were being attacked and probably, kicking somebody in the head probably was overboard.
I get so frustrated.
Nobody's perfect.
I follow Black Lives Matter on my Twitter, and then I see them tweet out like, all of our guys were just sitting here peacefully until these MAGA guys showed up. And I'm like, dude, it's such a lie.
They literally attack people with kids. Yeah, we have it on video.
They are just sitting there waiting.
Do you ever feel like they get like egged on by someone being there with a camera?
What do you mean?
Like,
no, they don't want you to
pick
film.
up the camera, that's when they decide to swing.
No.
Because Kalen a few days ago was saying he'll be recording the cops like, hey, get this. And the cop will like run into a wall or in a light post and be like, did you get it? And he's like, yeah. Thanks for giving me.
He was talking about protesters.
He said there was a cop that
What?
did that. So like people obviously will play for the camera.
No,
Do you ever get that vibe?
No, they attack cameras.
They-
Well,
Yeah.
from
Always.
whoever it was that he said someone was playing for his camera to give him some footage.
Maybe
Do you
some
ever
random
feel
dude joking around.
Do you ever feel like it eggs people on?
I mean, for me, from what I've got, no.
opposite.
I mean, these people were going to do what they were going to do, regardless. If anything, the camera
They don't
is
want
an
you to
enemy
film.
opposition. Yeah,
Yeah.
they would attack
That's what
me.
the umbrellas are for. That's why the
But that's
umbrellas
just my
come up and block
experience.
you out.
Yeah, that's just my
when the
experience.
cameras come out, they stop because now you're filming evidence of them committing crimes. So then what happens is if they're doing something illegal and they see you filming, they'll attack you. Yeah. And they'll say, why are you filming us? Whose side are you on? And if you say, I'm just filming, they'll say, you're the enemy. And then they'll start beating you up.
I do agree. I think you guys are definitely probably more right, but I do see like street fights. You ever watch street fight videos on YouTube? When people pull out the cameras, that's when they really go at it.
I'm sure people, play to the camera. I mean, just from my experience, I just never really got that.
There's so many
Yeah.
cameras around anyway.
Yeah.
Like one more camera out doesn't change anything really. So many people recording. So many people. I got to tell you, I'm not feeling super good right now. I'm just thinking about all the lies and the misinformation and the things I can see. Remember when I was telling the story about how I went to the Richmond 2nd A rally back in like February or January or something earlier this year, and it was totally peaceful and super.
I was
calm
there.
and everything
It was in
great.
January.
And
Richmond,
then and then the very next day, it's just like, oh, all these guys with guns and I'm doing Alex Jones now. All these guys with guns and just like this violent thing, and it's just, you just see this. I saw it with my own two eyes. You're totally lying over here. Just repeat that 1,000 million times all throughout the country, and then now to this point where people are just getting, kids and senior citizens and families are getting harassed and beaten up and knocked out cold in the street, and yet CNN's not talking about it, New York Times not talking about it, Washington Post not talking about it. Washington Post talking about the crime so clinically. They're just like, there was a stabbing.
We need a context plugin where you get it on your browser and then it'll overlay onto internet videos and tell you if it's.
That's so hard to do, man.
I know, but
there's too many outlets. There's too many videos.
Because when I see the Andy No video of the 6-second guy getting punched, he already knew it was out of context, but he didn't say it in that post.
Andy did?
Yeah, well, he posted it after he had posted the longer version.
Andy posted a clip because he thought it was important.
He posted
and then when people got mad,
3 hours after he had posted the 2.5-minute one.
Yes, and
he posted the short one.
So what?
Which is fine. He
So what?
knew it was in context, but it didn't.
No,
say
he
it
eventually knew.
Yeah, he didn't say in his post of the 6-second knockout that it was out of. I didn't know. He didn't post it. And there was no plug-in to explain to me that was out of context. I didn't find out till later.
Everything is out of context always. Andy No was highlighting a video. He was highlighting a video. He said, wow, look at this guy got sucker punched. That was it.
I know, but it was out of context, and that was why I got emotionally charged by it.
No, it wasn't out of context. It was perfectly in context.
No, it was just a guy running up and hitting a guy. And then later I saw the 2-minute
and the context was leftists were brutally beating Trump supporters.
I didn't even read anything. I just watched it and I was like, whoa.
A Trump supporter went to a rally, got brutally beaten. The context was there. The leftists falsely framed it. This guy intervened when they were harassing a family with kids. And they chased these guys down the street and were hitting them.
I'm telling you, no one had framed. I just saw a clip of a video. That was out of context.
What was the context?
It was a dude ran up and
punched
this guy.
What's the full context?
The full context was I loaded up Twitter.
No,
and
the full
someone
context
retweeted
of the incident. You don't know what context means.
The first I saw 2.5 minutes is the full context, which isn't even full.
It's not the full context.
No, Tim, I remember when I was writing my book, Democrats are Deplorable. Check it out. I remember thinking to myself, every time I would start to explain something, I'd be like, no, wait, I got to back up a minute.
Right.
And then I would try to write, and I'd be like, no, I got to back up even further. And then I would joke, and I'm like, here's how my book starts. There was the Big Bang.
Yeah.
Right? That's like the only way to like give proper context, because everything is just selected.
Andy,
it's a window, it's a snapshot, or even it's a continuous thing, but it's still limited.
The full context was that a family went to a police line and said, can we go through? And the cop said no. They then said, but there's a mob of angry people, and the cop said, too bad. I'm paraphrasing. So when they tried leaving, they got violently attacked, and this was a family, and they had kids. Eventually, after walking for like 8 minutes being attacked, they turned a corner, and a guy came in to defend them. He got sucker punched. Andy said, wow, this guy got sucker punched. The full context was leftists were attacking and brutalizing Trump supporters, and this guy got sucker punched. Showing you the clip of the guy getting sucker punched is not out of context. So it's just a short snippet of a grand event that happened throughout the whole day.
Right, and even that event, we don't even know how context. Like those people that were trying to get through the police line might have been aggravating people earlier in the day, and we don't know about it.
No, dude, there's full video of everything.
That's
of them
totally not
They're
true.
walking up to the police line, and no one is around them. They walk up and say, "Can we? We're trying to get that way." And the cops say no. The mob then comes up. So sure, if you want to make up that you think this family that just walked up to a police line trying to get to the hotel,
I don't know the context.
Was earlier in the day like it's ridiculous.
We just need something that will tell people that aren't thinking critically if it's a cut of a video is coming from a bigger video out of context. We need that.
Ian, here's what we need to do. Everyone who reads the news need to go into it with the understanding that the video that they're watching comes from a longer video. And they need to go and they need to independently find the longer video and watch before and after. They need to watch the whole thing. In fact, better, they need to be there in person. They need to talk to people who are there in person. They need to read from 16 different sources from all different sides of the spectrum. That's how people should read the news, but they don't. They never will.
This is such a great example. Two things. One, if we're going to play this game, let's talk about bigger context. The bigger context is the Democratic Party has been gaslighting its own people with lies for the last 4 years, and they have whipped these people into a frenzy and told them and convinced them that if they beat up white people, they're going to save America. Right? That's even more context. And you can just keep going back and back.
Or you can say a bunch of peaceful Trump supporters were having a peaceful rally to wave little American flags, and the left showed up to their event and started randomly attacking people.
There was some aggro Trump supporters.
For sure.
Sure.
Yeah, because now let's go back in time to when they went to Berkeley to have a free speech rally because speakers got canceled, and then Antifa showed up, tore down the barricades, and started throwing explosives at old people.
Lydia, I think you said a really smart thing, that we should be looking for greater context in the videos we see.
Okay, here's something I got to say. What we're describing right now is called sense making. Okay.
Right.
We have to develop your sense making skill. We call it in the liminal order. It's sense making. We call it intentional understanding. You are deliberately setting out to understand what happened. That means research. It means open mind. It means not being hungry or angry or lonely or tired when you're doing it because you're emotionally unsound. It means not being physically weak or obese or just wasted when you're doing it because you have to be secure. You have to have physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual integrity. These things, this is a life skill you must learn in the 21st century in 2020 amidst our information war, where the whole information space is totally polluted and people are trying to confuse you and they're trying to manipulate you and they're using windows of frame and context and whatever to change your mind and to make you do things that you might not want to do. Take control of your life. Sense make. intentional understanding. It's a holistic experience, and you have to do it as essential skill of anything else that we learn today in this world.
We should go to Super Chats.
Yeah.
We got to go to Super Chats. Unless you wanted to get something in
I
before.
just had a quick 2 cents. So I think this is probably the most important thing I've discovered when I was growing up. The most important thing I discovered as I was becoming an adult was sense making.
Yes.
How do I make sense of the world around me? What are the most important things? What's an intentionally opposing, like causing danger to me right now? What do I need to focus on? What do I need to make sense of?
Exactly.
But yeah, we'll go to Super Chats. I think you're
we
right.
need to make
This is
sense of
huge.
Super Chats right now.
Correct.
So
Yes, we're gonna do that now.
if you have not already,
More context
smash,
on the super
That's right.
chat.
Yeah, that's right.
smash the like button. Give us a good old like. It really does help the channel. And we're going to read what y'all have to say. So let's see. We've got a good one. Damien says, God bless America and Americans, praying
Heck
for
yeah.
truth and peace for you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
The 11th Hour says CNN is going up for sale. Rumors of Trump starting a news company. Imagine every airport with Trump's face and the CNN cast realizing they're in contract to Trump. Best timeline.
Oh snap!
That would be great.
That'd be amazing.
That would be great TV.
Let's see. Pinking says Clark County NV just threw out 1/6 of the votes cast. Check out Trump's Twitter. So we did talk about that.
Yeah.
Kyle Canuck says, Tim, how much have you looked into the Great Reset? It's truly terrifying, involving everything from behavioral sciences to massive tax hikes for bolstering inclusive growth. Someone needs to do a deep dive into this. That's a good point. Yes.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Alpha says sucker punched. In Australia, we call them a coward punch. The only people who attack like that are cowards.
Indeed.
Oh, yeah.
I like that,
Right.
Australia.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Let's see. ST Grizz says, hey, Tim, could you please bring in challenging leftist guests like Philip DeFranco and Legal Eagle? I want to see how the debate will go with Jack Murphy. I mean, if they would want to come on the show. I don't know. Phil's probably way too
He's not
busy.
Super lefty.
Is he a lefty?
I didn't
I don't
think so.
Anytime.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Lone Wolf says, genuine question. I have friends, family on both sides, and the problem I'm seeing is both left and right people are so biased they actively refuse to consider points from either side. Recommendations. Tell them to watch this show.
That's
There
right.
you go.
I guess.
Follow me on Twitter, Jack Murphy Live.
only we are the right ones.
That's right.
Everyone else is wrong.
We're playing.
Yeah.
Brian
I don't know,
Stelter
man.
here.
Well, you know, Tim, you joke, but like we are right in the sense that we're undergoing a process to understand the truth, and that sets us apart.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Thanks, Jack.
Curtis Reynolds says, know what you're describing? Not war, not unrest, not war weary. Revelation, evil, demonic forces at work. Perhaps. So apparently we've got a video coming out from Project Veritas right now. A lot of people have super chatted that Veritas has got videos of people not doing their job properly in the Georgia recount. That'll be
boy.
interesting.
Oh, I'll check that out later.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, this one,
Selectively
this super
edited.
chat from Naomi got retracted, unfortunately.
No.
Appreciate it,
Oh,
though.
we need context.
Bring it back.
Just nothing there.
Wow.
Nothing there.
Why?
That's my word now, bro. Context.
We
Context
need
for king.
context. Yeah, man.
Slababoos, the casual gamer, says, I think I read that the owner of Newsmax donated $1 million to the Clinton Foundation.
I heard that too.
Really?
Yeah, I heard that too.
Interesting.
Uh-oh.
Weird situation.
Mike Sisk says, Tim, the maiden name fraud is true. My sister had a ballot with her marriage name sent to her home, and her maiden name ballot sent to my house where she lived by she got married. When she got married?
Huh.
Where she got married? And I'm in New Jersey, mass mail ballots. Interesting. Someone said, DJ Strickland, I moved out of Arizona 12 years ago, and someone requested a ballot in my name. I reported it to the Trump War Room. Interesting. Yeah, man. Yep.
Report it to Matt Brainerd.
Heck
Yeah,
yeah.
Matt Brainerd. Rocket Boo says, I saw your last video. Welcome to the right, my friend. Well, it's always been right. So the Transparency Tube considers me right wing because it's my channels are anti-woke. And I'm like, I don't even know if that's a fair assessment either. I don't know. Ben Shapiro called me heterodox because I don't really fit into
Yeah,
any
I
of
like
these
that.
these bubbles.
What does
I
that
like
mean?
that. Yeah, that's
So-
cool.
Heterodox, it means not ideological.
Maybe
Unorthodox.
you're politically homeless, Tim.
He is
Absolutely.
for sure. Yeah, he said that many times.
But like when it comes, like I've done segments on how I think diversity in movies is good. You can't. I said you can't just expect every movie to always be some like 30-year-old white dude as the action hero. So I think it's cool that Marvel is going to do Shang-Chi or whatever the movie's called or whatever. But the problem is the ham-fisted and authoritarian practice, how they use wokeness and how that's not real diversity. They're just trying to like convince you they're doing the right thing, but really they just want power. So it's like a weird thing that doesn't fit neatly into any box, I suppose. And the funny thing is too, I'm like my political policies are like center left. Doesn't matter though.
You're a
wokeness.
progressive with the skateboard. Sounds to me like you're Antifa, bro.
He really does.
I know,
yeah,
someone super chatted asked me if I was Antifa.
That's
And I'm like,
skateboard.
You know what it was though? You know what it was though? I'll tell you what. I took the way they determine whether or not you're like left, right, or whatever is they said go to sides with or whatever. It's like this website where you answer a bunch of questions, and it said that I'm most likely like the closest party to me is the Libertarian Party, and I'm like, makes sense. I think a lot of Americans probably would fall that in
the
that category.
Leave Me Alone party.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly. Let me
that's me.
just like let me do my thing, I guess.
Do you support fascism?
Do I support fascism?
Just straight up.
No.
Then you're anti-fascist.
There you go. Boom, done. Nailed it.
Tim Pool is Antifa confirmed.
That's right.
I mean, they said it. It's their qualification.
Here we go.
I will proudly say that I am anti-fascist.
Me
If
too.
I could put Antifa in my I'll take it 100%. And it's their they're the ones who made. I'm sure they would not be happy about it. Tim Pool is not. No way. He's a fascist. Hey. I say it right now. I hereby, and I've said it in the past, oppose, denounce, reject, and would actively seek to stop fascism.
Whoa.
There it is.
Holler.
Ditto.
Same, honestly.
We're all Antifa.
Oh, snap.
Let's all go up to the latest meeting and see if how that goes.
Yeah,
Hey,
let's do it.
hello, fellow Antifers.
Antifers.
Got a
I'm
feeling.
also
Got a feeling I might be
anti-fat.
the only Latino in the meeting.
Yeah, you might be. You really might be.
Let's say Citizen King says the important thing is moral choice. Evil has to exist along with good in order that moral choice may operate. Life is sustained by the grinding opposition of moral entities. Anthony Burgess. Interesting.
So he's saying I'm never going to feel good.
I guess
That's
so.
what he's saying. Embrace the struggle.
Spork Witch says USAF vet here. Syria, not others. I oppose invading Iraq. The rebels asked for help and we didn't go in. It was when we refused to step in that someone did. And offered them weapons. Oh, ISIS did and offered them weapons.
Oh, yeah.
Training personnel not going into Syria made room for ISIS, and then it was too late. Yes, I'll take your word for it for sure, but I've also read a bit about it. It's also the fact that the U.S. has long wanted to assist in the destabilization of Syria. And in 2009, it was reported in The Guardian that the U.S. actually had plans for a ground operation to dismantle their government because they rejected our proposal to build the Qatar-Turkey pipeline through their country in favor of Russia building their own version of it. So it's convenient that the country then destabilized with these mass protests and the U.S. was on the opposition side, which then gave rise to ISIS. The U.S. wanted the country to fall apart. They got their wish. And then ISIS. Let's see.
That's heavy.
Shab says, Tim Lydia, would be amazing to see Robert Barnes and Viva Frey on your show. And we are absolutely open for that.
Yes.
I think
Viva is from Canada. That's the issue.
Yeah. Yep. Otherwise, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, it'd be super fun.
Barnes is good.
Yeah. Kyle Hopkins says, the people Jack were describing are utilitarians. EA also fall into this category. They care not about the individual people or country, but rather the human race. These beliefs are the foundation of the reset and of a globalistic society. And the Borg, actually. And Spock. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And I don't think you can just be specifically deontological or utilitarian because there's different circumstances that require different, I guess. Sometimes you might say if the only outcome is going to be death, for instance, if we're looking at economic destruction, which results in mass suicide and death, or we're looking at COVID death, well, then we're going to have to be utilitarian on this one. If the cure is worse than the disease, then we're going to have to choose no lockdowns. If the disease was substantially worse, then we have to choose the economic strife.
What he just said, the thing is that there's a conflict inside all of us. I am perfectly willing to put my needs behind the needs of my family, even the needs of my community. Going out into the street and reporting an Antifa and confronting them, that's about putting the needs of the nation ahead of mine. And I'm happy to make that personal decision. But I don't want my government making that decision for me.
It should be a personal decision.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I love, it's Taleb, I think, who said, I'm a communist at home, right? And then
a communist at home, a socialist with your family, and
and then a libertarian
that,
in government, right? That's the way it should be.
Black Veil says, Tim, I respect you. And I think I'm a pretty average person, but I'm scared and tired of the whole thing. Yeah. I don't want my head in the sand, but I really don't want to be metaphorically crucified. I'm scared that if I choose or participate, I'll be on the wrong side. Advice.
Don't participate.
Damn. Well, actually,
focus on yourself, bro.
No, I'll give you advice. I will. What happens when they show up to your house? They show up to people's houses who aren't doing anything wrong.
Yep.
In Milwaukee, they set fire to someone's home because someone said that there were kids missing and the house had the kids in it. It can happen. If you don't stand up for your fundamental rights, you will lose them. And then you will find yourself being locked in your home with no food and no one to help you. And you'll say, if only I stood up when I had the chance. So speak up now or forever hold your peace.
But that starts with taking care of yourself first. Physical fitness, mental stability, emotional and spiritual stability. Work on that. Start there. Saving the world starts in the squat rack.
Psilocybin's also just got legalized in D.C., I hear, and crying's okay.
Wow. And you say what? And crying's
okay. It's a nice detox.
Yeah.
Catharsis.
Jesse Stigler says, does Jack Murphy really do golden shower videos? What?
What
is that?
on earth? What a great question.
No idea.
I don't think so.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. Much appreciated.
Me and Trump.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I get it.
They don't exist.
The Trump tape, huh?
Yeah, may or may not exist.
Proud American says, it's crazy how the left has propagandized importance on American politics to millennials. In my 20s, importance was placed on building my career and my family. Priorities are out of whack these days. I would think so, yeah. Darkling Dawn says, what is your opinion on Trump's drone strike record? My understanding is that he is not good on it at all. Mm-hmm. That he actually upped it and made it really made it a whole lot worse. But then once he got rid of Bolton, my understanding, I could be wrong, is that he started to improve. He didn't get us into any new wars. So look, I'll tell you this: he fired 59 Tomahawk missiles into Syria. That was a huge mistake at like an airport or something. It was dumb. So I think at the very end, I'm looking at these peace agreements. I'm looking at withdrawing our troops, and I'm like, good, because the U.S. has never justified these things. They tried. There were no weapons of mass destruction. It was all BS.
Do you remember after the 59 or whatever Tomahawk missiles, everybody on CNN was like,
oh, yeah.
Trump just became president.
Is Trump now acting presidential?
Right. The only way you can be presidential is when you drop bombs from space.
Yeah.
Interesting to know.
That's exactly
right?
Not space. You know what I mean.
Yeah. From orbit. Yeah.
He was like a different person after that too. He looked so somber, like he had all those deaths on his head.
Yeah.
It wasn't that many deaths according to the news. You know, who knows? He felt it.
Yeah.
That changed him.
Spartan Chuckle says Trump is distantly related to Heinz founder.
Huh.
Okay.
I don't know who this is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
TX Horse Rescue says Schwab wrote Great Reset years ago. H1N1 was supposed to be the pandemic that kicked off the Great Reset.
Whoopsie.
Is that true? I don't know if that's
Yeah,
true.
I'll look that up.
But I know that the Great Reset initiative, like their plans for, has been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. It's like people think, when you talk about this stuff as a conspiracy, I'm like, it's on their website. I actually I went to Davos a few years ago. It was so boring and dumb, but it was like all of these super wealthy global elites, man. It was like the epitome of stereotypical elite being in Davos. There was a crazy blizzard, so like the snow was like 5 feet. It was nuts. And then I was like, this is dumb, and I left. I didn't want to be there.
Klaus Schwab is in his 80s, so I would be shocked to find out that he just now started thinking about it.
Yeah,
Right,
I don't
right.
think so. Yeah.
They're saying Bitcoin's going to hit, 390K
It's up
by
like
next year.
5%
by
today.
next year. That was, I think it was Chase or JP Morgan or whatever. Like both banks issued these huge projections that Bitcoin's going to skyrocket.
Dude, are they just going to blow up the U.S. dollar? Are they?
Why did they make
Trying.
those projections, Tim?
Because they want to pump it
just,
down.
Yeah, because they
Right.
just loaded up a massive position.
Right. So they buy a whole bunch of Bitcoin and then say, now it's going to get really big. And it's true because we bought it. But so is it going to get big? No, I think that's true. A lot of people say that. But I also think if we're going to be locked down for another year, it's not that Bitcoin's going to go up. It's that the dollar is going to go down.
Yeah, and the Bitcoin will go up as a result because it's relative to the U.S. dollar.
Yep.
That's how they measure it.
So Bitcoin, I would imagine, is going to go up, and I'll probably end up buying a bit.
Dude, if they're saying it's going to be 300,000 by next year, that means the U.S. dollar is going to tank.
Or they're
Please-
locking
please
down.
Don't believe this stuff.
Or that means
You don't-
that
you don't-
Bitcoin's going to
Well,
be
dude,
bought by.
I lived through the financial crash, dude. I lived through the mortgage-backed securities
about the
industry.
lockdown?
I lived through bump and dump from every investment bank saying buy these mortgage-backed securities. They're 100% full fail-proof, no problem. You're going to be fine. And at the same time, they're selling them because they're scamming everybody.
But I'm not concerned about the price of Bitcoin. I'm concerned about the effect of the economy on.
Oh no, sure, no.
a year-long lockdown.
I'm talking to my friend
be
Ian,
sure
who's like, they say it's going to go to 390. It's time to buy.
I would say, Jack, divest out of the U.S. dollar.
I do think it's time to buy.
Don't sit all your money in the U.S. dollar.
Has that correlation been proven between gold, Bitcoin, and the dollar? Do Bitcoin and gold move in tandem against the dollar? I don't think so.
They don't. No.
Right. So that
No,
kind of throws
gold
that theory
doesn't,
out.
but
No, it
Bitcoin, I think.
But listen.
does. Yeah,
I
Bitcoin does, actually.
I posted on this. I know this guy.
Bitcoin gets more valuable the less valuable the dollar is.
In
You just
theory,
get more
definitely.
There's
dollars
not
per
a
Bitcoin.
hard correlation because Bitcoin has been fluctuating rapidly in a crazy way. But anyway, somebody posted something about how like the government should just pay everyone to stay home because of lockdown, and it's like, oh, surprise. And I said it's really funny that you guys just like announced you defeated fascism by voting out Trump, but now you're like, yay, government forced lockdowns to lock us in our house. And he's making a comment about like just if the government should pay us money so we can stay in our houses, and there's so much wrong. And I was like, bro, if everyone stays in their homes, who's going to make the stuff you would buy with those dollars?
I think
There's not going to be anything to buy. Like the value of the dollar is predicated upon being able to do things with it. So I think the dollar is going to go down. Why? Because there's not going to be anything you can do with it.
If the Bitcoin
velocity will be going down. That's what happens.
If a Bitcoin's worth $100 and then the dollar depreciates by 10%, Bitcoin will be worth $110. So it's a direct correlation. That's why it's been constantly going up, is because the dollar's inflating. It's
no.
The debt's gone up by like $6 trillion.
Bitcoin has gone up and down in many different ways.
But
there's been pump and dump
always up.
schemes.
It's always gone up.
It hasn't always gone up.
Yeah.
It's not even at its highest point it's ever been.
Well, what was the highest?
20,000?
Yeah, 20
Oh,
something.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it dropped way down. It
the
went from
end
like
of
20 to
1980.
3.
Yeah, I remember
all
that.
of them did.
I don't even know about Bitcoin. And I remember
Bitcoin-
I remember that. Yeah.
There was rampant speculation. People went nuts. And then, dude, these stories
People
were
went
crazy.
nuts.
Some dude, there was like an interview with a guy who said he mortgaged his home to buy Bitcoin when it was at 20K, and then it dropped to 3. He was like, what have I done? It's like, dude, talk about not a smart thing to do. But I will say this. Bitcoin's been relatively stable at its current price. It's up a bit right now. It was at like 13.9 a week, like 2 weeks ago. So it's gone up quite a bit. I'm willing to bet Bitcoin's going to go way up. I don't think $400,000. That would be nuts. But I do think they're saying, what did Biden say? Dark winter. Prepare for the dark winter. It's coming. His Osterholm, his guy, said 6-week national lockdown. Remember when they said 15 days to slow the spread?
Uh-huh.
What do you think a 6-week lockdown nationwide really means?
6 months. 6 years.
The U.S.
I don't
debt's
know.
at 27 trillion something, and they just pumped like 6 trillion in. They're going to have to do another big pump of another 3 trillion to
They
handle
wouldn't
this.
have to.
I'm not here to give anyone advice, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, dude.
I'm not
load
going to go
up.
crazy.
Just
I'm
don't
not gonna
sit
load
on
up.
U.S. dollar only. Divest your funds
Yeah,
into
but
other
that's
forms
like
of currency.
what person can do that?
Ruples, bitcoins, whatever, gold, commodities like magic cards.
Ruples?
Just divest out of the U.S.
Rupees?
dollar. Yeah, other foreign currencies
You're
if you want to
Russian
divest, but just divest your
Hey,
your
hold on.
funds.
Is Forex is like people do that, right? Foreign exchange.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah,
can.
Forex people. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, with Joe Biden coming in, it sounds like a great opportunity to buy some yuan. Just load up on that Chinese currency.
Huh,
You know what I mean?
Good idea.
I'm not being serious.
Why
It's not
wasn't I
financial
thinking
advice.
about this?
I'm joking.
We
I
need a
don't know.
disclaimer now.
Yeah, but I am worried about the U.S. economy, man.
I'm terrified.
I'm
man.
terrified,
This is the highest
dude.
the debt's ever been.
Yeah.
And in my home state of California, we were the first state to do a statewide lockdown, and we've been locked down since March. We're already going into that 9th month. I mean, and then California's already, the cost of living is already crazy. California's a state that says that they're they have democratic values. Some of the people that are most suffering from all this are like the immigrants that they can't get stimulus checks. Some of these people are small business owners, and nothing's coming in. Absolutely nothing. It's just it's I don't know. It's honestly heartbreaking just to keep thinking about it. But it's the current situation.
I was going to tell Alex about defaulting on the debt to the Federal Reserve and see what he thought about that. I didn't get a chance. What do you guys think about that and repurposing the debt?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Got nothing.
I mean, all I could say this is like even last month when I was in North Carolina covering a Trump rally, interviewing voters, and I asked this one guy about his thoughts on the Hunter Biden laptop, and immediately he says, "Look, man, to keep it real with you, everyone that I know are small business owners, and so am I. We are all losing our business, and we have no food on the table. We do not care what's on that laptop. We need a stimulus check."
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if Trump would have got the stimulus check through, he would have won.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's where I keep
massively.
Yeah.
Maybe
Americans needed that stimulus check,
if
dude.
they do a recount and these numbers keep coming back, maybe Trump will end up winning. We'll see.
I think I said default on the debt. I mean default on the interest to the Federal Reserve. Maybe not all the debt at once.
Maybe that'll be what they want because it'll cause a massive collapse of the global economy and they can have their great reset.
Interesting.
Yeah, drive up the debt to a ridiculous number and then just say, No one gets paid back.
Of course, that's what they're going to do.
Debt jubilee
There's no
happened
other,
all through history.
Yep.
Jubilee, just canceling it.
Yep.
Happened many times.
Happens in the Bible all the time.
I don't know what's gonna happen, man. But I tell you this: it feels like we're in the calm before the storm because we're.
This is the calm.
This is the calm.
This is when you have a chance to load up on the boat.
This is the calm, dude.
Yeah.
Because listen, right now you've got Trump supporters saying Trump won, stop the steal,
Yes, that part.
and there's been no certification. And I'm watching, I watched Newsmax for the first time today, and they were basically just talking like Trump won. We know it. That's definitive. You turn on any other mainstream news outlet, and they're like Biden won. It's definitive. Even Fox News.
Yeah, even Fox.
So like, people right now, they're chilling because we haven't had certification. But I wonder what happens when they say we certify the electoral votes for name a president.
I feel like all hell's going to break loose. The thing is, the right is now rising up, and they're not going to be taken to the streets, I think, the way, they came out. I mean, right, Jack? I mean, it was just thousands and thousands of people there. So to me, it was just like,
beautiful thing.
I just don't see how these people, you just put Biden as president, they're just going to be like, all right, he's president. We're just going to go back to our regular. I don't see it. I mean, what do you think, Jack?
Yeah. Well, what I'm worrying about is people that trust the plan to cue people, that they're going to have like some sort of mental event.
Mental event.
Yeah, right. I mean, they're mentally and emotionally invested in this story, and if it doesn't pan out,
and they've been trusting the plan every step of the way, no matter how many times it's been bad for Trump.
There's going to be rage around that.
Yeah,
there's going to be rage. Yeah, so you never. And
I think we saw
just
like
don't know.
Yeah, we saw like a slight preview of that on Saturday, with families getting attacked, older couples getting attacked, people
that's
just
the left,
eating outdoors.
Cuban.
Right. But what I'm saying is just that constant clash between these two groups. I mean, I think we're heading into some unprecedented territories. Like I said before, I feel like we're in like Bolivia 2019 right now.
Man. So what does that end up becoming then, if that is the case? Should we buy our gold, buy our silver, hide your kids, hide your wife?
Ian, what should I do?
Yeah,
buy copper.
I'm buying copper. I'm going with Ian's advice. I'm buying copper.
Gonna buy copper.
I bought some copper wire just because we're gonna build stuff with it. I guess we're gonna make like lasers or something.
I bought silver.
I think you should buy Bitcoin. I think buy Bitcoin when it goes up.
No. You can't give financial advice.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
You literally can't legally give financial advice.
To Jorge?
Just in
He
general.
just asked me what he should do.
Yeah.
All right.
I think spread out your money to different commodities, including Bitcoin, any kind of crypto that you like. Investigate what the cryptos are, because a lot of them are different and work with different. Stock up on food and water always. Everyone should do that anyway.
Ammo
and
ammunition, if they can get any.
Gold, commodities that you like. Tim and I invest in Magic cards. That's a fun trading card game.
They
invest. That's because I like playing the game. I'm not confident Magic cards will survive a civil war.
I have a little bit of stock on the stock market.
Could you imagine? Can you imagine? It's like post-apocalyptic world, and there's a dude, and he's got like really grimy, nasty water in a bucket. And he's like, "Water for sale." And Ian walks up, and he's like, "Yo, I got an original Alpha lightning bolt." And the guy goes, "Whoa, why didn't you say so?"
Yeah,
grab a glass.
I don't
fills
see
it up.
I don't see it. I don't know.
I think you'll be all right if you divest your finances.
Buy some food.
You want here's the way you got to think about it. What do you have that's valuable? I tell you what. The first thing I would do, the first thing I did a long time ago, is download a survival guide to your phone. Download you can download the entirety of Wikipedia onto your phone, like every article. Screenshot it as of right now. Wikipedia is far from perfect, but there's a lot of really great stuff you might find in there. Let's say you're in the middle of the woods and you see like this weird looking mushroom and you're like, I'm hungry, man. Can I eat that? And then you look it up. You can get an app that identifies mushrooms. You might never find yourself in the woods, but we hear stories about like some lady went for a walk, got lost in the woods. If she had a survival guide, might have helped her out. Something simple you can do. And you should buy a first aid kit. That's like obvious. Everybody's house should have one of those. Water too. Sometimes it rains, and you get flooded and you can't go out and go to the store. So
we just got some rain barrels.
Yeah,
we have a rain barrel system set up. It's
legal
it's really
in
this
cool.
state. Hopefully, I wish it was legal everywhere. Here's some states it's not legal and it's very
well,
strange.
it depends on where you are there because if people keep just collecting water, then there's no more water going back into like the natural water base or whatever. And then there's like rules about your backyard. So if you're in like a dense suburban area, that you can't collect water because it's like I don't know, cause problems for the
so
locals.
weird.
Yeah. Yes.
Disease. It might harbor disease.
Jack, you look all excited.
No, I got nothing. I'm like, yeah, that's weird.
Okay.
That's weird.
I got nothing on rain barrels.
All right.
Friends, if you haven't already, smash that
Yes,
like button.
please.
And follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Parler at Timcast. Check out my other YouTube channels, youtube.com/Timcast and youtube.com/TimcastNews. And you know what? I'm gonna shamelessly self-promote.
Do it.
I have a music video. It's called "Will of the People."
It's badass.
And
It's awesome.
It's so good. It's so amazing. Everybody just said they loved it. But here's what we're gonna do.
People are telling me.
We're gonna when we end the show, I'll play the song for you guys just because it's like the easiest way to promote it. So that's how we'll sign off with the "Will of the People" music video.
Yeah.
But you can search for it on YouTube. You'll see it. And it's really cool. It's about the cycle of revolution. We did this really awesome video about basically what's going on with people who think they should change the world, and then they end up becoming. Well, I don't want to give away too much. You should watch it if you haven't already.
No spoilers.
It's
but
timely.
you should watch it. It's really good. It's about like a lot of what's going on right now. So it's called "Will of the People." We'll play it in just a minute. But before we go, you want to?
I'm Jack Murphy. Go to my YouTube page, hit subscribe, remind notifications, all those things, and Jack Murphy Live on Twitter, please. I also wrote a book. It's called Democrat to Deplorable. It's pretty good.
The definitive guide on why people voted for Trump.
That's exactly right.
But,
also describing why 2020 is not the end. It really does lay out sort of a decades-long
Cool.
viewpoint of the conflict ahead of us.
And Jack usually comes on every other Wednesday.
That's right.
But
This
because
special edition.
Jack and Jorge were both on the ground at this crazy event, I was like, you guys got to come and we got to talk about this stuff. But yeah, Jorge, you want to mention your channel?
Yeah, so
Your
Jorge
Twitter?
Ventura, field reporter with the Daily Caller. Twitter would be Ventura Report. Then my Instagram is Jorge Ventura TV. We do all the ground coverage all over the United States, so I feel like everyone would like the coverage that they get. And I don't got a book yet like Jack, so maybe next time I might have that book to plug in.
Heck
Right
yeah,
on.
we'll get there.
Awesome, dude.
Yeah, hey, I'm Ian Crossland. You can follow me all over. I'm going to be streaming and experimenting with Streamlabs in the near future. So I'll be streaming to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch all at the same time. You can follow me at Ian Crossland at all those things. And at Minds, which I am a co-founder of, holler back to free software and the future of humanity
Right on.
at Ian Crossland. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll let you know when I go live.
Cool.
Nice.
And of course, our Patch Lids.
So our patch lids, LYDS.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out. We'll be back tomorrow live at 8 p.m. Smash the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stick around. I'm going to play this song and force you to listen to it. Shameless self-promotion. Later, everybody.
On the march in the morning. again.